members of the ROTC, our cross-country athletes, and of course, our football players. Our senior football players, number 2, Jaquaylin Davis, the son of Sylvia Carr and Byron Redmond Sr. Jaquaylin Davis. Number 3, Micah Simpson, the son of Matt and Dominique Simpson. Micah Simpson. Number 6, Juan Kennedy, the son of Josie and Roderick Kennedy. Juan Kennedy. Number 7, David Waller, the son of Dominique Morris and Deborah Waller. David Waller. Number 8, Noe Osorio, the son of Juan Osorio and Elvira Flores. Noe Osorio. Number 9, Cameron Neal, the son of Camille Neal and Henry Neal. Cameron Neal. Number 10, Joel Luna, the son of Kenny and Abigail. Joel Luna. Number 11, Orion Stevenson, the son of Nina Dukes and Jeremy Williams. Orion Stevenson. Number 12, Evan Bennett, son of Brian and Patty Bennett. Evan Bennett. Number 14, Scott Brock, the son of Anthony Brock and Stephanie Drummond. Scott Brock. Number 16, Stephen White, son of Stephen White Jr. and Jessica Fortas.
I'll be home probably.
Stephen White. Number 19, Hayden McGuire, son of James McGuire and Leanna McGuire.
Yeah.
Hayden McGuire.
If we do, we'll probably watch it.
Number 20, Diego Martinez, the son of Juan and Nicole Martinez.
All right.
Diego Martinez. Number 21, Kevin Tran, the son of Tran Nguyen. Kevin Tran. Number 22, Sawyer Duke, the son of Darren and Emily Duke. Sawyer Duke. Number 26, Carmelo Brown, son of Tanya Johnson and brother of Sean Brown. Carmelo Brown.
Yeah, no. You're the first
Number 37, Justin Fisher,
including, besides my therapist.
son of Justin Fisher and Tammy Blakely.
No, but seriously, my parents don't.
Justin Fisher.
Yeah, he's the one putting me on.
45, Juan Tapia,
Other than my therapist.
son of Martha Salas and Juan Tapia Sr.
And doing all that.
Juan Tapia.
Huh? Yeah. Which might be terrible.
Number 50, Cecilia McLaughlin, the son of Sonia and Robert McLaughlin.
Should I have to do?
Cecilia McLaughlin.
I don't know what it is.
Number 51, Grayson Rapp, the son of Kara and Michael Rapp.
I had to fill out
Grayson Rapp.
last week.
Number 53, Andrew Ibarra, the son of Imelda Molina. Number 56, Chris Cross, the son of Angela Cross. Chris Cross. Number 57, Ryan Rios, son of Diana and
So I filled out all
Romeo
of the things, and then he's going to give it to
Ryan Rios.
What?
Number 61, Saul Gonzalez, son of Manda Marcus and Juan Gonzalez. Number 69, Andrew Morris, son of David and Tammy Morris.
My therapist.
Andrew Morris. Number 75, James Robles, son of Katie and Carlos Robles. James Robles. Number 80, Archer O'Neill,
And then I'm like,
son of Jennifer O'Neill and Odie and Valerie O'Neill. Ladies and gentlemen, the seniors from your Greenville High School 9 varsity football team. Now we'd like to recognize our first-year trainers.
Walk out, I can take you to the car.
Jose Angeles,
Now let
son
me
of
see
Mary
it.
Sid and Carmelo
Let's see where they
Angeles.
stay on with the car.
Jose
Yeah.
Angeles.
Isn't that
never
the...
have seen one where it's free.
No, it's the
Yara
shit.
Mia Fernandez, daughter of Imelda Juarez and Juan Fernandez.
My Vince just.
How do your vents not work? They're holes.
And now our second-year trainer,
How do your vents not
I don't
work?
know.
Tiffany Fernandez, daughter of Christina Correa.
Actually, it's okay.
Tiffany Fernandez.
Oh.
Jasmine Martinez, the daughter of Erica Rivera, and escorted by her uncle, Coach Sellers. And now our third-year trainer, Leslie Uvalde, the daughter of Myra and Edgar Uvalde. Leslie Uvalde. Sage Wiggins, the daughter of Kelly Wiggins. Sage Wiggins. And our fourth-year trainer, Andrea Dominguez,
I told you.
daughter of Emma Lennon and Andres Dominguez.
You're my top 5 favorite
Ladies
people.
and gentlemen, our senior trainer.
I was like, why do you think I'm...
Why do you
Like, if you love me, leave me alone.
I'd like to recognize members of our senior Lion Five band. Landon Anderson, the son of Rachel Anderson and Rex Harris. Landon Anderson. Carolina Figueroa Barones, the daughter of Susanna and Jesse Barones. Carolina Figueroa Barones. Alexander Brown, son of Jacob Brown and Donette Barlow. Alexander Brown. Tomas Bustos, son of Tomasita and Jesus Bustos.
White pink
Tomas Bustos.
pink umbrellas mean something. Yeah.
Danica Escobar, daughter of Benito and Iara Escobar. Danica Escobar. Emilia Escobedo, the daughter of Christy and Joe Escobedo. Emilia Escobedo. Mateo Horacio Martino, son of Mauricio Mendez and Marcel Martino Gomez. Mateo Horacio Martino. Sierra Garofalo, daughter of Lenore Gargola and Kat Gargola. Sierra Garofalo. Miriam Moreno, the daughter of Alicia and Miguel Moreno. Miriam Moreno. Jonathan Opasinski, the son of Heather and Larry Roger. Jonathan Opasinski.
Hi, Mr. Sadler.
Adolfo Pineda Chavaria Jr., the son of Adolfo Pineda Sr. and Mercedes Chavaria. Adolfo Pineda Chavaria Jr. Jocelyn Regalado, daughter of Josue and Dora Regalado. Jocelyn Regalado. Gina Rodriguez, the daughter of Beatriz Rodriguez and Mario Hernandez. Gina Rodriguez. Blake Rutherford, son of John and Laura Rutherford. Blake Rutherford. Sinead Sanders, daughter of Tanisha and George Sanders. Sinead Sanders. Kayla Serrato, the daughter of Julia and Mark Serrato. Kayla Serrato. Jillian Shepard, daughter of Kate and Mark Shepard. Jillian Shepard. Juno Turner, daughter of James and Karen Turner. Juno Turner. Taylor Valentine, daughter of Stacy Valentine. Taylor Valentine. is the members of our senior Line Pride Band. And now our 2022 senior cheerleaders. Lizzie Cabot, the daughter of Sonia and Chris Cabot. Lizzie Cabot. Aya Wines, the daughter of Tanya and Keith Payne and Brandon and Crystal Wines. Aya Wines. Kaylee Hamilton, the daughter of Heather and James Hamilton. Kaylee Hamilton. Lainey Hines, the daughter of Craig and Tammy Hines. Lainey Hines. Lindsay Maynor, the daughter of Becky and Robert Maynor. Lindsay Maynor. Allie Mason, the daughter of Rachel and Justin Mason. Ellie Mason. Bella Stevens, the daughter of Wade and Jana Stevens. Bella Stevens. Holly Summers, escorted by her aunt Megan Brett. Holly Summers. Wesley Yonish, the son of Stacy and William Yonish. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our 2022 senior cheerleader. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our 2022 senior flashes. Mariah Barrett, daughter of Alexa Barrett. Myra Barrett. Chloe Gage, daughter of Chris and Kelly Gage. Chloe Gage. Darren Johnson, daughter of LaShonda Anderson and Dolores Anderson. Darren Johnson. Dana Medina, daughter of Rochelle Yasmin Olera and Jose Alfredo Medina Galarza. Dana Medina. Cheyenne Murray, daughter of Brandy and JD and Ashley Murray. Cheyenne Murray. Zoe Nichols, daughter of Brad and Barbie Nichols. Zoe Nichols. Jennifer Osorio Flores, daughter of Pablo Zamora and the late Sonia Flores. Evelyn Regalado, daughter of Jose Luis Regalado and Maribel Regalado. Evelyn Regalado. Stella Severio, daughter of Angel Severio and Maria Severio, escorted this evening by Melissa Moreno. Lydia Spivey, daughter of Lori Spivey and the late Jason Spivey. Lydia Spivey. Mario Velasquez, daughter of Gloria Amoredo and Hector Velasquez. Maria Velasquez. Doris Whitus, daughter of Deborah Kitna and Christopher Whitus. Doris Whitus. Jasmine Wilson, the daughter of Rosanna Marquez. Jasmine Wilson. And ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our senior flashes. And now the members of our 2022 senior ROTC. Elizabeth de la Cruz, daughter of Julio de la Cruz and Anita Diaz. Haley Guerrero, daughter of Ricky Guerrero. Haley Guerrero. Jason Miller, son of Lauren Deese. Jason Miller. Ethan Worcester, son of Amy and Justin Worcester. Ethan Worcester. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from members of our 2022 senior ROTC class.
And after this last break, make sure you're up to stand and get ready for this
And ladies and gentlemen, our 2022 senior cross-country member, Michael Platter, the son of Susan and Michael Platter. Michael Platter.
Hello, Lion fans, and welcome to Friday Night Lights at TA Cotton Ford Stadium in Greenville. Tonight, the Lions host the powerful Lucas Lovejoy 11 in District 7-5A Division II. Lovejoy comes into the game sporting a 6-2 record and is tied with Melissa at 5-0 for the district lead. These two teams will square off next week, ostensibly for the championship. I'm Bob Muty alongside John Mark Dempsey with Matthew Middleton behind the camera. The Lions at 2-6 and 1-4 in district will once again be without the services of leading scorer Micah Simpson. So junior quarterback Anthony Johnson will have to step up to fill that void. Johnson played well last week against Melissa, going 8 for 13 and passing for 150 yards. Coach Duke told me this week that 9 starters at the beginning of the season were not suited up for last week's loss to Melissa. And tonight won't be much different against the number 3 ranked team in the state. JM, what more can you tell us about the Leopards?
Well, you know, very impressive program, Bob, and last week they beat Mesquite Poteet 70-3. You have to, comparative scores are always a little risky, but the Lions, of course, lost to Mesquite Poteet 29-27. So, this is Lions probably fighting with a short stick, with all, in all reality here tonight. But this is why we play the games, and we'll see how it goes. One thing I did notice in watching some of the video of the game last week between Lucas Lovejoy and Poteet. Poteet just came unraveled in that game. They had at least six fumbles lost that I saw in 3 minutes of video, and they had 3 in the first quarter. Now, and these were not fumbles where one of the Leopard linebackers, made a tremendous hit on the Poteet kid and forced the fumble. These were bad exchanges between the quarterback and the ball carrier. Just very, very careless, sloppy mistakes. They did not look like that. Matthew said he was not very impressed with Poteet when we saw them, and I understand why. But they looked like a pretty disciplined football team the night they played Greenville. But they just looked terrible in that game against Lucas Lovejoy last week for whatever reason. My point in saying that is I don't think Greenville will do that. I have not seen the Greenville Lions look as bad as Poteet looked in that video last week. Throughout the season, I haven't seen the Lions make mistakes like that. Penalties have been the problem with Greenville for the most part, not so much turnovers. But I think that accounts a lot for that 70-3 score that you saw, that Poteet just fell apart in that game.
They put up 70 against Princeton, too.
Yeah, and that's less surprising because Princeton really hasn't played anybody in the district anyway, even a close game. But I was surprised that Poteet did not account of themselves better in that game last week against the Leopards. So, we will see, but I was also impressed last week, Bob. The Lions did not play particularly well in the first half against Melissa, although it was just obvious that they were overwhelmed, that Melissa was just a much stronger team. But in the second half, Greenville played quite well, and I'm sure that Melissa had a lot of their backup people in, but Lions actually outscored Melissa in the second half, and they didn't quit. You know, they played hard all the way through the fourth quarter, and that was impressive. So I think you'll see Greenville give a good effort tonight, but as you pointed out, you know, they are very depleted, and they are not putting all the guys on the field that they would like to.
Well, tonight, beside Johnson, look for Cameron Neal and sophomores Greg Washington and Jaden Johnson to get most of the work on the ground. Neal will also be targeted in the passing game along with Jaqueline Davis. Defensively, Jaden Johnson will start at linebacker along with Ruben Enriquez, and Jamorian and Stevenson and Joel Luna will anchor the secondary. JM, what are you really expecting from tonight's contest?
Oh, I think that Lucas Lovejoy is going to try to stay sharp. They have, as you've already pointed out, they have their biggest game of the year, at least in the regular season, coming up next Thursday night. That's a Thursday night game at Lovejoy when they take on Melissa. I wouldn't think that this would be categorized as a trap game, but, I mean, the head coach, Chris Ross at Lovejoy, certainly is going to have a hard time getting these guys at a super sharp level to play against the Lions when Greenville has struggled as much as they have.
He's got to be cautioning them against looking past this one for sure.
Sure, and I imagine he's not talking so much about the threat that they might lose this game to Greenville, although that's always a possibility when you tee up to play. But he wants them to remain sharp. He wants them to not let down. There's certain objectives that he will have that he will want them to meet throughout the ball game on both offense and defense, whatever it may have to do, and certainly special teams as well. And I imagine he will be less concerned with the score per se than he will some of those specific things, whatever they may be, that he will want. Right. Right. Well, the win, of course, they don't want to take for granted, but I think beyond that, they'll be looking at some certain specific measures that they will have that they feel like they need to improve upon if they're going to beat Melissa next week.
Well, both Melissa and Lovejoy have already clinched a playoff spot. Crandall can clinch a spot with a win against Denison tonight, and Poteet and Turrell, they have an opportunity to clinch as well in their game. Melissa will be playing against Princeton in the final game of this week's slate for 7-5A Division II. Tonight was senior night, and all the seniors, football players, volleyball players, flashes. I guess the volleyball players weren't here because they're playing right now.
I think, yeah, they had their own senior night a week or so back, I think.
Anyway, they were honored. Patrick Just, our field announcer.
Cross-country kids were included.
So a nice time for the seniors tonight as they get honored. We are playing without the run-through tonight. I guess the Booster Club didn't want to get it out in the rain. The Leopards just ran through their little paper run-through or plastic run-through that Velcro Rock rows together. So nobody brought out the big guns this week to start the game, JM.
Well, I'm sure the weather also has something to do with that. I'm surprised that there's not a bigger crowd of folks from Lovejoy across the way there, and they may yet all walk in here at kickoff time. They may be sitting in their cars out in the parking lot. But, Matthew, this Lovejoy is ranked what in the
third in the state?
Third in the state in 5A Division II. Not very far. I was surprised. I did a little research on I guess Lucas, the town of Lucas, this week, which I thought was in Denton County, but is in Collin County.
Yeah, it's just next to Allen. That's where
it's right.
They can't make the Allen team. They come play.
But it's not a far drive. Obviously, it's certainly less than an hour. So I'm surprised that there's not more folks here. But again, the weather, no question about it, having an effect. And so, yeah, I think some of the things that you might otherwise see, you won't see. Matthew tells me we've had just over an inch of rain in Greenville in the past 24 hours. It's 55 degrees. Wind, it's hard to see the flag here. In fact, the flag may not be up at this time. There it is. But Matthew says it's from the north at 9 miles per hour. Now I see it. It's down just out of my view.
But had the coin toss, and the captains for tonight's Greenville team were Andrew Morris, number 69, the left guard, Jamorian Stevenson, the aforementioned safety, and number 10, Joel Luna, who will also be in that defensive secondary. I noticed that for captains for Lovejoy, amongst the four that were mentioned, starting quarterback Braden Hagel and starting wide receiver Kyle Parker were amongst the captains for Lovejoy. We did not get the direction of the kick and who's going to get started, but we'll have that for you in 30 seconds. All right, back here at T.A. Cotton Ford Stadium alongside John Mark Dempsey. The Lions chose to walk from the end zone to the 50-yard line and then got into a little bit of a jog. Now they're kneeling in the south end zone. Lovejoy standing along the sideline. I notice that Lovejoy's got some canopies over there. And
Yep.
over top of their benches. I don't know whether their football team's going to sit back there against the stands or not. But
Yeah, I noticed the canopies, but I didn't really associate that with the bench for the football team. I thought that was probably for the trainers or maybe even the band or what have you. But yeah, they have the benches there under the canopy way back on the far side of the track. Bob, I'll tell you something that's interesting is Lovejoy is known for their wide receivers. In fact, there was a story that Channel 8 WFAA had early in the season about Lovejoy as wide receiver U. Yeah, and so we'll talk more about that because we're about to have the national anthem, and we do have the Greenville High School band here, and their slickers tonight. So any moment now, just as the color guard is advancing to the 50-yard line, we will have our national anthem played by the Greenville High School band from T.A. Cotton Ford Stadium.
Cadets for the presentation of the colors. So we got a 1-4 team against a 5-0 team, and like we talked on paper, this looks like it's going to be a tough go for the Lions tonight under Coach Duke. But I know he's going to have his kids competing to the best of their ability and put on a good show against this state-ranked team.
Bob, I was referring to Lovejoy's wide receivers. Kyle Parker is an LSU commit. He has 48 catches for 677 yards and 10 touchdowns. But listen to this. In the game against Argyle, which was the second game of the season, Kyle Parker, 23 catches for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns in one game.
And they lost the game.
Yeah, well, and Argyle, of course, is one of the top teams in the state. Also, I think they're 6A. But that's a season. 23 catches, 340 yards, 3 TDs. That's a good season for a high school kid. Jackson Lavender is an SMU commit. He has 29 catches for 503 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Caden Carlock will tee it up for Lovejoy. The Leopards will be moving from our left to our right. And deep to receive for the Lions is Greg Washington. He watches the ball roll harmlessly out of the end zone, so the Lions will start at their own 25-yard line.
We saw Greg Washington for the first time last week, and our PA announcer Pat Just, who also has a son on the team, Nick Just, tells us it's Greg Washington III. He points out.
I wonder if he's related to
Greg Washington II.
well, the Washington.
Yeah.
Been a lot of Washingtons.
Yeah, no doubt.
Pretty good football.
Yeah, no
He gets
doubt.
a start tonight at running back next to Johnson. Fake the handoff to Washington, and Johnson keeps it. He's upfield for about 7 yards. A big guy making some headway.
Lost his headgear there, Bob.
So he'll take a seat at the sidelines.
Now, Zach Bonner made the tackle there. He had 53 tackles coming into the ball game for Lovejoy. 13 tackles for loss. Zach Bonner, 6'2", 205, a senior. Also 3 sacks.
So coming in to take over at quarterback will be Joe Luna, who will be the substitute for Johnson when necessary. Hopefully Anthony will figure out how to keep his helmet on.
Tough running by Anthony Johnson on that first ball carry.
2nd and 3, 2 receivers left. There goes Washington, bounces off one man, and then is brought down short of first down yardage.
Travis Gant, senior defensive lineman, made the stop for Lovejoy.
Lions set up with 3 receivers to the left that time and 1 receiver to the right, and Washington really didn't have anything to work with on that particular carry. So it'll be 3rd and 2. Lions trying to keep the drive going and get something going early against the Leopards. Anthony Johnson, junior quarterback, at the helm. Shotgun formation, keeps it, and he is brought down with a great tackle behind the line of scrimmage, and that's going to bring up a punting situation.
That's Travis Gant again, 2nd tackle in a row by Travis Gant, 6 feet, 185-pound down lineman for Lucas Lovejoy, and he didn't show up all that much in the stats that I looked at, but he's off to a great start here tonight.
Yeah, he really knifed through that time and got Johnson down low, where if you're going to tackle a big guy, you got to get him down low.
Yeah.
Anthony Ibarra in punt formation, waiting at the 35-yard line. High snap. Ibarra gets it up. It's a high, short kick. It bounds toward the Lovejoy end zone, and it's going to roll dead at about the 34-yard line, where the Leopards will start.
So that's a 33-yard punt, Bob, and Ibarra averaging right at 40 yards a punt for Greenville.
He's a big leg, big guy. He's obviously the starting tackle on the left side for Greenville, and is also handling the place-kicking duties.
Well, he did last week. I don't know, for whatever reason, Archer O'Neill was out last week, and we'll see if he's available tonight or not. But
he was injured earlier in the season, but
yeah.
apparently hasn't really recovered.
Andrew Ibarra, perfectly capable, though.
Cagle takes a snap, fakes a handoff, looks left, overshoots his man. That's indeed the aforementioned Kyle Parker on a bubble screen. 2nd and 10.
Braden Hagel, 6'1", 180-pound junior. By the way, a lot of these guys for Lovejoy, Bob, are juniors. I'll tell you more about him after this play.
2nd and 10. The high snap is bobbled by Cagle, but a handoff to Matthew Maynard, and he finds good yardage on the left side. Looks like a pickup of about 12 for number 7 before he's brought down by a couple of Lions.
Ruben Enriquez made the first contact.
Low snap got away from Cagle, and he's dropped by Jonathan Sampson on top of Cagle that time. That's a loss of about 10. So the Leopards are having a little trouble with a slippery football. A high snap and then a low snap. 2nd, we'll call it 20. Good snap this time. Maynard gets it, no problem, going off left tackle. He's up close to midfield. That'll bring up a 3rd and about 8 yards to go.
Ruben Enriquez, again with the tackle, had 66 tackles for Greenville coming into the ball game.
left side of the Lovejoy offensive line doing a great job for Maynard right now. Maynard also a junior. Leading rusher. Hagel fakes to Maynard, looking deep, throwing deep, looking for Lavender. Lavender had it and then dropped it at the 10-yard line. So that'll bring up a punting formation for Lovejoy unless Coach Ross decides he's got enough horsepower to go on 4th down on his end of the field.
Kevin Tran back there with him step for step, Bob, and I think had a lot to do with the fact that Lavender couldn't bring that pass in.
That's a beautiful throw, though. It looks like he dropped it right in the bucket. So in punt formation for the Leopards, I believe will be Carlock. I think he handles both punting and placements. Takes a good snap. It's a short kick. Looks like it's wobbly and going out of bounds early. So Carlock did not get a good foot on that one, and that's going to get a good field position for the Lions up close to the 34-yard line. A good defensive effort that time.
Really, that's a great stop there by the Lion defense on that first possession for Lovejoy. Certainly can't take that for granted.
Any stop is a good stop tonight.
Well, it has been, for the past several weeks. Any stop you could get, you'd take. That game against Crandall, we were just begging for a stop.
1st and 10 for Greenville, their own 34-yard line. Ball gets away. Johnson picks it up after trying to hand off to Neal, and he's brought down for a loss back close to the 28-yard line. Yeah, Matthew Middleton just said, that's a wet ball out there, and I think he's absolutely right. Both teams having trouble holding on.
Roderick Maps, DB for the Leopards, made the tackle.
That Maps sounds like
yes, that's a familiar
Greenville name.
That's a familiar name, isn't it? I want to talk about Maynard here tonight as well.
2nd and 14 for the Lions. Washington and Johnson in the backfield. 3 receivers right, 1 to the left. Hand off to Washington, and he is absolutely mobbed by some white-shirted Leopards. So it looks like another loss. Leopards are dressed in white jerseys, red pants, and looks like silver helmets. Lions are in all black with their red helmets.
Bennett Slaughter made the tackle there, Bob. He has 86 tackles coming in, leading the ball club for Lucas Lovejoy.
3rd and 14 for the Lions. Johnson rolling to his right, and he's dropped and he fumbles the ball, but fortunately, I think it was Washington might have gotten on top of it at the 20. So the Lions go backwards, and they'll be forced to punt once again.
Actually, that is Justin Fisher, again, who played some last week, and we had not seen much of him before last week, but Justin Fisher, a senior, seeing some time now at running back.
Yeah, he's listed 3rd on the depth chart tonight behind Washington and Jaden Johnson. So Ibarra is standing at his own 7-yard line, waiting for the snap from Chris Rapp, and there's a stoppage of play. We'll wait to see what the decision by the referees is. It's a procedure penalty against the Lions. It's difficult for me to tell how hard it's raining, but Matthew says it's raining really hard right now. You can see patches of very shiny turf where it's definitely pretty wet down there. So Ibarra now back at his 2, gets a good snap, gets the kick away. Fair catch called for at midfield. It's taken by Parker, and that's where the Leopards will set up shop. 1st and 10. 6:26 remaining in a scoreless game here at T.A. Cotton Ford Stadium in Greenville.
32-yard punt by Andrew Ibarra, Bob.
Tell me about Maynard. You were going to...
I would love to think that he is somehow related to the great Carlos Maynard and the great Max Maynard, who are both in the Greenville Athletic Hall of Fame. I have no reason to believe that other than the fact that they have the same name, they spell it the same way, and obviously he's a very good athlete. But when I saw that name, I thought of Carlos Maynard, who just passed away about a year ago. And, of course, had a great career as a coach at Texas Tech and Ranger Junior College. And then Max Maynard, his younger brother, who was a great basketball player, great track athlete at Greenville High School. So I would love to think that Matthew Maynard here tonight might be related to
We'll have to get Matthew
Carlos.
Middleton to do a little research on that There was some movement up front for Lovejoy, but there's no penalty. And it looks like Maynard gets up beyond midfield. So there was a 5-yard penalty against Lovejoy to set them back to their own 45. Here's a quick pass outside, and the first down is gained down to the 40-yard line.
Catch there by Blake Redding for Lovejoy, and Joel Luna, you may have heard Pat just say, made the tackle.
First and 10, quickly to the line of scrimmage. Cagle looking deep, and he overshoots Lavender on the far side of the field down at about the 5-yard line. Good coverage over there by the Lions.
Yeah, that was DeJuan Kennedy back there, one of the seniors, playing their last home game here tonight.
You know, the Greenville secondary is not real big, particularly their cornerbacks, but they do a good job in coverage. Second and 10. Cagle hands to Maynard. This time, Maynard is wrapped up quickly. Nice job by Enriquez, I believe.
Ruben Enriquez and Jonathan Sampson, I think both had part of that tackle for Greenville.
2-yard loss brings up 3rd and 12 for the Leopards as they're stumbling a little bit. Cagle looks to his right, has the completion, but quickly tackled at the 38-yard line by Joel Luna is Blake Redding, who's also the holder for the placements for Lovejoy.
Jamorian Stevenson also in on that tackle there.
4th and 7, and it looks like the Leopards are going to go for it. 2 receivers either side. Junior quarterback Brandon Cagle. Waiting for the snap. A little bit of motion. Receiver's going downfield. Now he's got a man short, and he finds him just at the sideline. That's Parker Livingstone. So that'll be a 4th down conversion. And quickly to the line of scrimmage go the Leopards. Lions have to be prepared because they're not getting much time between snaps. There goes Maynard straight up the middle, got lots of room. Good tackle down at the 19-yard line by Jaden Johnson, I believe.
I've got it as Kevin Tran making that tackle, Bob. Had 42 tackles, the senior DB for the Lions.
Cagle quickly out to Livingstone. Livingstone trying to get to the end zone. Reaches for the pylon, but they've marked him out of bounds at the 2.
Yeah, now they're starting to click. We have a penalty.
I see some gesturing by the head official.
Offside, Greenville. First and
decline.
Yeah, first and goal.
Take the result of the play.
Hagel, by the way, Bob, coming in with 1,800 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 67% completion average.
This time Maynard takes the snap, direct snap, and he gives it to Kyle Parker, who bursts his way into the end zone for a Lovejoy touchdown. So Cagle got a play off that time, JM.
Yeah, they will do some direct snaps. We saw that on video this week. Kyle Parker does, in fact, line up there and take some direct snaps. Did you say it was Maynard that time?
Yes.
I see.
Maynard to Parker. So Will Frost will snap it. Blake Redding will hold it for Carlock, and Carlock's kick is up and good. Lovejoy 7, Greenville Lions 0 with 4:20 remaining. We'll take a 30-second break and be back with more Lion football here in Greenville. And JM and I are back. 4:20 remaining, 7-0 in favor of Lucas Lovejoy's Leopards. Carlock setting the ball up at his own 40, deep to receive. Cameron Neal, who wears number 9, and I believe that's Greg Washington wearing number 30. sophomore has just been brought
Right.
up from the junior varsity.
That's right. 56-yard drive in 9 plays, Bob. 55-yard, I'm sorry.
Yeah, with 1 4th down conversion, too, and that's pretty big. Carlock's kick is going deep and into the end zone and out of the end zone. Guy's got a really good leg. I was watching him kick field goals earlier before the game, and he was kicking them from 50 yards.
We've seen some great kickers this year, and in particular in the time since you've been away, Bob. Crandall, in particular, had a really terrific place kicker. I was talking with one of the Lucas Lovejoy broadcasters before the game, and he was really excited to hear that Cameron Neal is the son of Henry Neal, whom he remembered and was asking me about Henry Neal without knowing that Cameron Neal was on the team and Henry Neal's son.
Anthony Johnson looks to his right, completes a pass to Jaqueline Davis, but he's hit immediately for no gain. So Johnson's first completion yields 0 yards. 2nd and 10. Ball at the 25-yard line.
Will Brown, 6'2", 240, down lineman on the tackle for Lucas Lovejoy there.
Lovejoy reminds me a lot of Plano. We used to watch Plano back in the 70s, and boy, they're not real big, but they all know how to play.
Yeah, a machine.
2nd and 10.
Oh.
Hand off to Washington. He's bumped, but he makes his way up for a short gain. Positive yardage, always a good thing. They give him a gain of 3.
Chase Bogle on the tackle, a linebacker, sophomore linebacker with 50 tackles coming into the game.
For the Leopards.
Yep.
So they're deep.
Lions were lucky to get 3 yards out of that. They had a bad exchange there. In fact, lucky that it wasn't a fumble.
Yeah, the defensive line is pushing the Lion offensive lineman back into the running backs. 2 running backs this time flank Johnson. Neal was one of them. He finds Neal in the right flat, and it's a little bit on his back shoulder, and Cameron can't come up with it.
So
Another punting formation for the Lions after that incompletion. Johnson struggling just a little bit with the wet football tonight.
Not surprising. You see all of the fans, again, it's a little bit hard to see how much it's raining, but we still see all of the fans who have umbrellas, they have them open.
Yeah, they got them up for sure. Kind of a light crowd for both teams. Kind of what you would expect on a rainy night in Texas. Ibarra with a good kick this time. Fair catch is called for and made on a diving play by Parker. Nice athletic catch there of a wet ball. So they'll start at their own 46-yard line. They've had great field position on each one of their 3 starting possessions. 2:46 remaining. Lions trail 7-0.
26-yard punt there by Andrew Ibarra for Greenville.
Braden Cagle, and we've got a plastic bag on the field, so we got a slight stoppage of play. Referee does a great job. Passes it off to one of the Greenville coaches, and now we're ready to go. 1st and 10, Lucas Lovejoy at their own 46-yard line with a 7-0 lead. Braden Cagle, junior quarterback, looking to his right, finds his man. That's Lavender, and Lavender snakes his way into Greenville territory before he steps out of bounds, forced out by Ruben Enriquez. Quickly, once again, to the line of scrimmage. 2nd and 3. Cagle again looking downfield. Finds his man, and once again, that's Lavender. Breaks 1 tackle from Tran and gets inside the 35-yard line of the Lions.
Ruben Enriquez coming up, the linebacker, to finish him off there. Coming up from behind. Good pursuit.
Well, the weather conditions not slowing down the Leopards in terms of their passing game.
Well, it did there for a while. You know, they kind of got off to a slow start. They had to punt on their first possession, then looked like they were going to have to punt again. But I think you pointed out they had a 4th and 12, was it? Or was it a 4th down play that they converted, and they've been rolling since then.
Have an injured player on the field, so we'll take a short break and let the trainers do their thing.
Conserving energy is important to us here at GEUS. We even pay rebates when you buy energy-efficient appliances. Your conservation helps all GEUS customers. In the future, we will need to build new electric generators, and this can be expensive. And with our population growing, we will need that power. That's why we give rebates for Energy Star appliances. So think about replacing your bulbs with super efficient LED bulbs or adding insulation to your attic. Together, we can help all GEUS customers by doing our part. Check out our rebates online, and remember, GEUS is always ready to serve and assist you in any way we can.
Jaden Johnson, the injured player, helped off the field. Hand off to Max Maynard going around the left side. He's got lots of room. He's on the far sideline, still going inside the 10-yard line. Matthew Maynard just getting all kinds of great blocking from his teammates on that left side.
But he broke at least 2 tackles on that run, and then finally it took Kevin Tran, the Lion DB, to come over and bring him down. But
once again, quickly to the line of scrimmage, the bubble screen overshoots his receiver, is Cagle. So it'll be 2nd and goal from the 8-yard line.
yeah, Maynard does a real tough run there just a moment ago, and he just ran over a couple of Lions.
2:04 remaining here in the first quarter. Cagle in the shotgun. Matthew Maynard next to him. Lots of time on the play clock this time. 2 receivers either side. Takes the snap, hands to Maynard, going left once again. He kind of likes that left side, and he's easily into the end zone for the 2nd Lovejoy touchdown.
And he ran over Khalil Parker there for Greenville, and that's not easy because Khalil Parker's a good tackler.
He's a big guy, yeah.
He just blew right through him.
How big is Maynard? He doesn't look.
He is not that big. He's 5'10", 180.
Okay.
Now, he may be bigger than that. That's what they show him on the roster. But he's not especially big.
The kick by Carlock is good. So with 1 minute and 59 seconds remaining, Lovejoy has a 14-0 lead over the Greenville Lions. John, Mark, and I, again, will take a 30-second break to get a swig of water and catch our breath.
I own an electric company.
I own a power plant.
I own an internet provider.
Because I'm the owner, real people answer my calls.
Since I'm the owner, I can walk right in and talk to people face to face.
As an owner, a technician comes to my house to make sure my internet problem is fixed right.
At GEUS, we treat you like you own the place because you do. GEUS, true local ownership.
Okay, we're back for the Lovejoy kickoff. The Lions just have not been able to get anything going offensively, have yet to get a first down. Here's Carlock's kick. Again, it's a deep kick, and Washington just watches it sail in and out of the end zone.
Bob, 54-yard drive and 4 plays there for Lucas Lovejoy. And 27-yard run by Matthew Maynard was the big play on that drive. Then he got the touchdown on the 8-yard touchdown run.
Seems like the Leopards are winning the line of scrimmage.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Got some big guys, 270, 290, 280, 260.
Justin Fisher in at running back right now. Washington ran off the field asking a question, why am I not in there? Johnson keeps, and he is stopped at about the line of scrimmage. Just nothing going on whatsoever offensively for the Lions thus far. They look very sluggish.
Well, this is how it went last week against Melissa.
Slow start.
Slow start.
Well, maybe they can get it revved up here with 1:30 remaining in the first quarter. Anthony Johnson, junior quarterback, looks downfield, tries to get Neal on a screen pass, and just nothing doing there. He was not able to get the ball anywhere close to Cameron Neal. So Johnson's really struggling with the wet ball, much more so than Cagle.
His forte, I think, is the deep ball. I think he's got a strong arm. And we saw that several times last week in the second half in particular against Melissa. And connected with Cameron Neal on a touchdown at the back of the end zone very near the end of the ball game. So I'm sure the rain is having an effect on that, and then plus the Lucas Lovejoy rush.
Johnson rolling right under pressure, just tries to get rid of it to prevent the sack, but pressure from 2 or 3 white-shirted Leopards forced him to just ditch that one.
Someone said, it may have been David Claiborne, maybe David was quoting someone that he talked to, that Anthony Johnson only started playing quarterback last year.
I think that's correct.
For the junior varsity. It's not like he came up from the 7th grade on playing quarterback. So he's still very much, in a learning phase here, which you can see.
High snap, but Barr gets the kick off
Oh,
under a lot of pressure. It
not
goes
good.
straight up in the air, and that'll be a short kick. Goes out of bounds. Looks like at about the 36-yard line, 35-yard line in Greenville. So
yeah, that's only
high snap, and the pressure just forced a short punt by Barr at that time.
Yeah, 10-yard punt.
I tell you what, the Leopards have certainly benefited from great field position on
Right.
all their possessions. This time they'll start at the Greenville 35-yard line.
Well, they started at their own their first possession was at the 34. That was not bad from Greenville's point of view. Then they had their own 45. Then they started at their own 46, and now the Greenville 35.
Fakes to Maynard. Cago looking deep. Plenty of room to throw, and he gets it out to Parker. And Parker is dragged out of bounds after making the line to gain.
DeJuan Kennedy, Greenville defensive halfback, over on the far side, made the tackle.
Having been a quarterback, I can tell you, when you have protection, it makes it a whole lot easier to have a decent passing game. Quick bubble screen this time. Cago completes it, and coming back across the field is Parker, and he's going to make something out of nothing.
Wow.
He's down inside the 10-yard line. He came completely across the field after taking that pass. You don't see that very often.
Khalil Parker finally made the tackle with some help from 2 or 3 other Lions.
So Kyle Parker taken down by Khalil Parker. First and goal from the 6.5-yard line for Lovejoy.
18-yard gain there.
Maynard has the ball. This time goes right and goes into the end zone untouched. The body language from the Lions right now is not looking too good.
Yeah.
Lovejoy puts up 3 touchdowns here. It's still in the first quarter with 31 seconds remaining.
Parker, by the way, who had that terrific catch and run there a moment ago, is the LSU commit at 5'9", 165 senior, coming in with 48 catches for 677 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Kick is up by Carlock and good. So the Lovejoy Leopards have come into T.A. Cotton Ford Stadium and put 21 on Greenville here in the first period of play. Matthew Middleton was telling me, JM, that they have 13 D1 commits on this team.
I did not see that, but that sounds about right. I don't doubt that.
Clearly some excellent players. And
but again, Channel 8, WFAA, did a story early in the season calling them wide receiver U because of all the great wideouts. And so it's not only Kyle Parker, but Jackson Lavender and Parker Livingstone. And, well, that is, he is, Braden Hagel is outstanding. I was reading up about Braden Hagel, and it was unclear to me, but in the background on him, it referred to Los Angeles. And I think he may have transferred here at some point, maybe in the off-season prior to this season from Los Angeles.
There's a kickoff by Carlock. Once again, it goes out of the end zone, so the Lions will start at their own 25 once again. You know, Lucas Lovejoy, they're adjacent to Allen. And
right.
Of course, Allen is a 6A powerhouse in the state of Texas, and if you can't make it on the Allen squad, you go over and
is that how it is?
Move into the Lovejoy district and get to play on a good 5A team.
Well, it took Lovejoy about 2 minutes longer to get to 21 than it did Melissa last week. Bob, looking back at my notes.
Rough first half for the Lions, and once again, just the running back is just swarmed. I think it might have been Neal, swarmed by it was Jaqueline Davis, 3 white-shirted Leopards.
Zach Bonner, again, the first guy to get there, 6'2", 205 senior, had 53 tackles and 13 tackles for loss coming in, so that'll give him 14.
Yeah, I think he's one of the leading tacklers.
He is. He's number 2 tackler on the team.
Yeah, he's a good one. That's the end of the first quarter. We'll take a 1-minute break, and we'll be back with the start of the second quarter, hopefully, and a more impressive offensive performance by the Lions than we've seen here in the first quarter. We'll be right back. Bob Muty and John Mark Dempsey back here at TA Cotton Ford Stadium. Junior Anthony Johnson trying to find, he finds Neal. Oh my goodness, he got the ball out to the receiver, and that might have been Noe Orsonio.
It was, yes.
Just couldn't hang on to it. Boy, that would have been a big gain. Great job by Johnson trying to get the ball to Orsonio, and no, he just couldn't hang on to it. That would have been Greenville's first down because he had plenty of room to run.
I was going to say, not only first down, I don't know how far he might have been able to take that. He had a broken field there.
3rd and 12. Lions deep in their own territory at their own 23. Johnson once again rolling right. Looks for Davis, but overshoots him. So the incomplete pass results in this will be the 4th or 5th punt.
Oh, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, be the 5th punt.
Greenville's 4th punt. They have yet to get the ball beyond their own 30-yard line.
The wind has died down. There's almost no wind at all at this point, so that's not much of a factor.
Kyle Parker standing inside his own 40. Ibarra just gets the kick away. It's a good one. Parker gets it at his 36, straight up the field, beyond midfield, is knocked down at about the Greenville 44-yard line.
Jamorian Stevenson, senior for the Lions, made the tackle there. It's a good thing he did because he was picking up a head of steam there.
The wide receivers that you keep referring to, really, they've got some great speed and clearly have great hands, and sure makes it nice for a quarterback like Cagle, have guys like that to throw to.
Sure.
They're doing most of their damage with short stuff. They've tried a couple of deep ones with little success. So Parker and Redding out here to the left. 2 receivers also to the right. Braden Cagle fakes to Maynard. Now he's going deep. He's got a man, and he completes it down at the 10, and out of bounds at the 3-yard line. Is that Lavender?
No, that's Parker Livingstone. Now, he is the biggest of the bunch, by the way. It's 6'3", 180. So he's very tall.
Yeah, he's a good target for sure. And he was able to get up high over the Greenville defender on that side.
42-yard gain on the play. They have a guy who mainly is a defensive lineman, defensive end, I think, but his name is West Wilson. He goes 6'2", 245, Bob, as a receiver. Now, obviously, he's more of a tight end.
1st and goal. Cagle looks, and off the fingertips. Is that Livingstone again?
Yes.
I'm having trouble telling whether.
No, I'm sorry. That was Jackson Lavender. Yeah.
Lavender's dad is the offensive coordinator.
Oh, is that right? I think Braden Hagel is struggling with the wet ball a little bit, just somewhat like Anthony Johnson is for Greenville.
He's getting much better protection than Johnson.
Yeah.
Looking downfield, he's got a man in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. That looks like the big guy.
That is Livingstone.
So Livingston on the board for Lucas Lovejoy as they go up by 4 touchdowns now. 27-0, awaiting Carlock's kick. Other scores in the district so far: a surprise from Mesquite. Terrell leads the Poteet Pirates 31-0.
Wow.
And in Melissa, Princeton and Melissa have not gotten underway yet, or at least there's no score, nor any score between Denison and Crandall. Here, of course, the Lions trailing big early in the second quarter. Lovejoy's put up 28 points. Our scoreboard's not working. It's showing 8 points, so the first
if only
first digit on the scoreboard is not working. Maybe it's just a 2 that's out.
Well, last week the Lions fell behind 21-0 to Melissa, but they then cut the lead to 21-6. They got a touchdown run of 12 yards from Cameron Neal, and so they kind of started to climb back into it a little bit, but not tonight.
Just not able to get any footing thus far against a really tough Lovejoy defense. I mean, these guys, they other than the Crandall game where they gave up 35 points, there are the 4 games they've given up an average of 4.5 points. So, they're a solid defensive club in addition to being pretty good on offense as well. Here's Caden Carlock's kick. Once again, in the end zone, not out this time, but it'll be a touchback, so the Lions will start at the 25.
So he's had a touchback on every one of his kickoffs. And I'm coming in to doing Lions football this season after doing many years of Commerce Tigers football. Now that's 3A, and we almost never see a kicker put the ball in the end zone in 3A football.
And one of Greenville's strengths, admittedly, is they can run the football, and they could run, get good run backs on
Right,
returns.
right. That's a great point.
All right, let's see if the Lions can generate some offense here. Johnson has Fisher in the backfield.
Wow.
Gives to Fisher, and he's immediately runs into 2 white-shirted Leopards. No gain.
Travis Gant, whose name we've said a lot tonight, made the first contact there.
What about the size of these guys on that defensive line? Are they really big, JM?
Well, I don't know about defensive line, although if I go to their depth chart, I could tell better. But you look down their linemen, 270, 290, 260, 275, 280, so on.
Yeah, big Nick Perez looks like he goes, pretty good sized kid. Johnson is trying to make something happen this time on the keeper.
Wow.
And unable to do so.
This time it's
spotted at the 24-yard line for no gain.
Bennett Slaughter, the linebacker, who is their number 1 tackler with 86 tackles and 6.5 tackles for loss, made the stop there. 6 feet, 190-pound senior linebacker.
Where's number 44? Third, we'll call it 11 for the Lions. They're moving from our left to our right. Johnson throws behind his receiver. He was looking for Neal on the far side, and they couldn't connect. So Ibarra will be called upon to punt. With 10:02 remaining here in the second quarter, the Lions trail by 4 touchdowns. Kyle Parker once again will be in the receive mode for Lovejoy, currently standing at his 35-yard line. I love the guys when they wear the high socks and the spats.
Oh, yeah.
That's
a good look.
Sporting. That's a good look. Good pressure.
Oh!
Ibarra gets the kick away. It's going to bound and go straight out of bounds at about the Greenville or the Lovejoy 44-yard line. So the Leopards will have to start in their own territory this time, Jay. Can you imagine?
That's a 31-yard punt there by Andrew Ibarra. Yeah, they will start at their 44. Here we got another score, Bob, coming in.
All right, Caddo Mills undefeated in district so far in 4A, playing Sunnyvale tonight in a battle of first place. Caddo leads 10-7. So we'll keep a track on that one, and hopefully the Foxes will prevail and hang on to that first place. Braden Cagle now by himself in the backfield. Maynard now goes in motion, sets to his right. Fake handoff. Cagle rolling right. Pressure by Carmelo Brown, gets the pass away. It's complete, but a great tackle by Kevin Tran on the far
Yep.
side.
That's right.
Excellent defense by a guy who's had a good year defensively.
You bet he has. He had 42 tackles coming into the game.
2nd and 10, Cagle looks right, overshoots Jackson Lavender. So it'll be 3rd and 10. You got to believe that these overthrows are probably a result of the slick football.
Yeah. Again, it's hard to tell just how much it is continuing to rain, although I see all those umbrellas are still all out. So I have to believe that means that still raining.
Cagle finds Will Redding there, and that's going to be Blake Redding. And that's a conversion. So at the 44-yard line of Greenville now, the Lovejoy has a conversion. Matthew Maynard up the middle this time runs into a little bit of resistance, and Khalil Parker is able to ride him down before he gets more than about 5 yards. Once again, no huddle offense for Lovejoy. They don't give you much of a break. Looks right, does Cagle. Now he rolls right, having trouble finding anybody. Wide receiver tries to keep his feet in bounds, but I'm not sure he was successful.
It's Parker Livingstone.
I guess he was. They've moved the chains. Wow, that's a good reception over there by Livingstone. Used all of his 6'3" to bring that one in. Maynard around the right side, has lots of room, down inside the 20, the 10, the 5, tripped up, but dives into the end zone for the 34th point for Lucas Lovejoy. Matthew Maynard, great run, great blocking, very well executed.
Excellent blocking on the perimeter there by the Leopards, and Maynard used that blocking expertly. He set those blocks up, cut back, and really a beautiful play there.
Blake Redding now will hold for Carlock. Carlock and Redding and Will Frost, the snapper, getting lots of work in tonight. Tell you what, this is a very tired Greenville defense.
Yep.
They've been on the field.
That's right.
I'll bet, 90% of the game
so
far?
Sure, we could at halftime may be able to count up the number of snaps for each team. Won't have time of possession exactly, but right, because so many times the Lions are 3 and out on their offensive possessions, and Lovejoy right back at it. So sure, that's a 35-yard run there by Matt Maynard, and that was a 56-yard drive in 6 plays.
All their drives have been pretty much 40, 50, 60 yards.
Yep.
In 6 or 7 plays, with that one exception where they had to convert to 4th and 7.
Yeah, that was the first drive. Lions actually did have a stop on the first possession for Lucas Lovejoy, but not since then.
Celeste is playing Santo tonight in a battle for first place in that district, and it's still a scoreless game, probably early in the second quarter. Caden Carlock with a strong leg. Once again, the ball comes down.
Oh, my.
It's picked up, it rolls back, and it's picked up by Washington. And he brings it out to about the 12-yard line. So
that was like a tee shot that he landed on the green with backspin.
Yeah.
And maybe that's exactly what he did. He may have that ability. But it landed at about the 1-yard line. Instead of rolling into the end zone, it had backspin. And the Lions had to pick it up and attempt the return there.
Yeah, that surprised Washington, and he had no other choice but to pick it up, and was quickly covered by a couple of the Leopards. So deep in their own territory is where the Lions will start this time. Hand off to Neal. Neal's got some room. He's going to be down to the 20, the 30, up to the 40, beyond midfield, still going, 40, 30, 20. Cameron Neal down to the Lovejoy 17-yard line before he's brought down. Cameron Neal, son of Henry Neal, has got a little bit of speed.
71-yard run there by Cameron Neal, and I know that Lovejoy broadcaster is excited right now, who was asking about Henry Neal before the game and was so pleased to hear about Cameron Neal being his son.
Neal's had some long runs this year, and it seems like it always comes on that off left tackle where Ibarra and Andrew Morris are set up. So this time Johnson keeps, and not much going on. Ibarra trying to get him around the right side. I guess Ibarra must have pulled on that one, but Lovejoy defense stiffens.
But you know, you'd like to see him get the ball into Cameron Neal's hands more often, see what he can do.
Well, he's setting up at different times, either as a running back
or
as a receiver. This time he's going to be in the backfield with Anthony Johnson. He's a big kid and obviously has great speed. He gets the handoff again, and this time runs into some resistance right at the line of scrimmage.
This is Braden Gibson, 240-pound defensive lineman, a junior for Lucas Lovejoy. Bob, you may know, or if not, you might be able to ask Coach Duke. Watch the right guard, who is Nick Just. He will turn and look. Do you see that?
Yeah.
What is that? He does that every play.
I think it's just to make sure that we're ready to go, and then he probably communicates some kind of a verbal signal to tell the rest of the team that, hey, we're ready to go.
But they do it without fail, every play.
Well, you know, if you watch any professional game, you'll see the same thing. The guard usually, one of the guards will turn back to the quarterback and look for some kind of a signal.
Travis Gant with the stop again there for Lovejoy. We've said his name a lot tonight. He is listed as a defensive lineman at 185 pounds, 6 feet.
So after the long run by Cameron Neal, the Lions are forced into a 4th and 10 situation at their own 17-yard line. They've been unable to do anything with the last 3 plays, and Coach Duke is going to take a timeout and try to set something up and get some points on the board. 6:07 remaining here in the first half. JM and I will take a break, and we'll be right back with more Greenville Lions football.
I own an electric company.
I own a power plant.
I own an internet provider.
Because I'm the owner, real people answer my calls.
Since I'm the owner, I can walk right in and talk to people face to face.
As an owner, a technician comes to my house to make sure my internet problem is fixed right.
At GEUS, we treat you like you own the place because you do. GEUS, true local ownership.
Big 4th down and 10 for Greenville, and their first opportunity to put points on the board. And it looks like they've decided to try to get a 3. So Diego Martinez will be setting the ball up at the 24-yard line for Ibarra's 34-yard field goal attempt.
Oh.
A high snap, so that's going to put the kibosh on that effort. Ibarra picks the ball up, and he's just buried. Now five Leopards just hounded him. So deep snappers having trouble tonight as well.
There was no kick. Matthew said, what happened to roughing the kicker? Well, no kick. I know.
Matthew's enjoying the night off from having to do dual duty as a cameraman, technical director, and a color commentator. Greenville turns the ball over on downs with 6 minutes remaining here in first half.
Wow. I was surprised by the score you quoted a few moments ago of Terrell leading by such a wide margin. I don't remember what it was. 31-0 over Poteet. Sounds like they've just folded their tent.
Jackson Lavender takes the handoff from Brandon Cagle and goes around the right side for about 20 yards. Lavender, obviously a wide receiver, also plays a little bit of running back, apparently.
I don't know if he lined up at running back or if they had him at a slot and then gave it to him on a jet sweep.
Now he's at the running back.
Okay.
Gets it again.
I see, right.
Right tackle and breaks a couple.
No, you're right. You're right.
Up at the line to gain, or very close to it. So back-to-back runs by Jackson Lavender. Looks like it's going to yield 2 first downs. Yes, they are moving the chains. Ball's going to be spotted at the Greenville 42-yard line.
He has almost no statistics indicating that he has carried the ball as a running back.
Well,
Bob coming into the game.
Yeah, they're without Dante Dean tonight.
Oh, is that right?
That might be the reason why Lavender's getting a little bit of a look there. Just be ready for next week's game against Melissa Cardinals.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Play clock down to 3. Down to 1, it's 0. Cagle gets the snap, finds Livingstone, and Livingstone can't hang on as Tran takes his feet out from underneath him.
Sure did. Big hit. And well-timed there by Kevin Tran.
Tran's providing some of the few highlights for the Greenville Lions tonight defensively. Lovejoy have a 2nd and 10, 42-yard line of the Lions. 4:52 remaining here in the first half. The Lions trailed by 5 touchdowns. Rich Parker in at tight end. Now at H-back for Lovejoy. Braden Cagle fakes to Maynard. Now he's going to take it on a scramble straight up the middle. Runs into very little resistance, and he's down inside the 25-yard line of the Lions.
Once again, Kevin Tran with the tackle. Now, Hagel has hardly carried the ball at all. That's one of the very few times he has carried the ball this season.
I think that might have been just a quarterback draw. This time he hands to Maynard, and Maynard is upfield off left tackle for about 8 yards. Lions just got to be just almost worn out. They've been on the field so much time. Amorian Stevenson a little bit gimpy after that tackle. Maynard once again takes it up the middle. He's still going, and he's inside the 10, down close to the 7 for another Lovejoy first down. They're piling up the first downs.
Well, the Lions also don't have a lot of depth. I mean, if you look at the number of kids on the bench right now, there's not that many on the bench. I mean, Greenville.
Absolutely right. Playing with a short deck for sure. Cagle drops straight back. Now gets a little pressure from Parker, and he's brought down for no gain.
It's Khalil Parker, I think, kind of looping in behind him to bring him down there.
2nd and goal. We'll call it the 9-yard line.
It's basically no gain there.
3:30 remaining here in the first half. Cagle hands to Maynard around the right side. Lions do a better job this time as 2 guys bring him down. Looks like Carmelo Brown might have been in on that as well.
Khalil Parker again. Flag coming in late, and I'm afraid this may be an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty.
Well, we know the Lions are tired. Now maybe they're probably getting frustrated. We'll wait and see what the call is.
I was about to say, has there been a penalty in this game up to now on either team?
I think there was a 5-yard penalty.
That's right, very early. That's right. That's right.
Early.
That's right. Against Lovejoy.
Yep. They're still waiting for the referees to decide what they're going to call here. Situation is 3rd, and we'll call it 7.
Flag was very late. I don't know if it was after the play, but it seemed to be after the play.
Yeah, it's a dead ball foul, personal foul.
Oh, for Lovejoy.
Maybe both teams. So a couple of guys got into it over there, and it's offsetting penalties after the play, so the play stands.
But they called a personal foul both ways rather than unsportsmanlike conduct, which was the first thing that came to mind to me. But maybe a fine line there. Yeah.
Right. All right, Lovejoy now with a third and goal from the 7-yard line. Matthew Maynard, junior running back, and Braden Hagel, junior quarterback, at the helm. And another penalty on stoppage before the play. Let's see if it's going to be a procedure penalty against the Leopards or an offside against the Lions. Which one? Offsides against Greenville, so that'll make it a little bit easier for the Leopards as it'll be half the distance to the goal.
Yeah.
Clock down to 3:01 left here in the first half of action. Lions trail by 35.
Yeah, the scoreboard is, as Bob has pointed out, and if you're looking at the scoreboard on the stream, that's completely misleading.
5-0. There's a pass from Cagle, and he finds Jackson Lavender on a crossing pattern for the 6th Lucas Lovejoy Leopard touchdown. Cagle to Lavender for 6. Carlock lining up for his 6th point after attempt. Guy has a future at the next level as a kicker, in my estimation.
Mm-hmm.
He is a senior, so he'll be moving on to maybe he may be one of those Division I commits.
That's right.
He's got a leg. Kick is up and good. Lovejoy 42, or if you're looking at the scoreboard, 2. Greenville 0. Just a really, really difficult night for the Lions. We expected it to be a tough one, but to be dominated like this and be on the field as much as that Greenville defense has been on the field, it's just really tough to be able to function and execute the way you normally would be able to execute.
71-yard drive in 9 plays that time for Lucas Lovejoy, and the touchdown comes on a 4-yard pass from Braden Hagel to Jackson Lavender.
And Lavender had a couple of pretty good runs in that.
Yes, he did.
In that series, as well as, of course, Maynard and Braden Hagel himself on a quarterback draw, just right up the middle, picked up pretty close to 20 yards. So 2:46 remain here. 42 for Lovejoy and 0 for the Lions. 1 first down for Greenville on a 71-yard tote by Cameron Neal, which resulted in a unsuccessful field goal attempt.
Lavender.
Kick taken inside the 5 by Greg Washington. Washington taking it up the middle, brings it out to the 22-yard line before it's brought down by Colton McSpadden.
Jackson Lavender, who scored the touchdown a moment ago, by the way, is the SMU commit from Lovejoy. And that was his 8th touchdown so far this season. And Hagel now, let's see, has 2 touchdown passes in the first half. Is that right? And so he will now have 24 touchdown passes against 3 interceptions this season.
He's been successful on 1 deep throw thus far. Most of his stuff's been short and lots of yards after the catch.
I think that's kind of the way they roll.
2:40 remaining. Anthony Johnson on a keeper.
Oh, no.
The ball bounces right up into the hands of one of the Lucas Lovejoy linebackers, and that'll be a turnover.
I was about to say that's the one thing that the Lions have done reasonably well. They've held on to the football. They have not committed turnovers here in the first half. And we were talking about the game with Lovejoy against Poteet last week, and Poteet, in 3 minutes of video that I saw, had 6 fumbles lost. And Greenville has not done that tonight, but until now. And so the fumble recovery there by Dylan Kennedy, a linebacker, and the fumble was caused by Michael Modine, also a linebacker for Lucas Lovejoy.
So the Leopards are going to start with their best field position of the night at the Greenville 21-yard line after the turnover. Lavender in motion. Now we have a new quarterback into the game. I think that's Austin Gonzalez, and he completes his first pass down inside the Greenville 10-yard line. That might be the tight end for the first time.
No, that's not the one I was talking about, but about the same. Ridge Barker, 6'4", 240. A junior makes that catch.
Now Alexander Franklin. I apologize on the pass that time. Hands to Maynard. Rugby scrum at the 5-yard line, and Maynard is pushed back. So Braden Hagel's probably going to get the rest of the night off. So Lovejoy fans can rest easy that he's going to be in good shape for next week's championship matchup with Melissa.
Andrew Ibarra with the tackle.
Ibarra now in there getting some time on defense, spelling some of those tired Lion defenders. Franklin now looking deep into the end zone.
Oh!
Nice attempt by Redding to keep his feet down.
I think he caught it, but he just couldn't keep his feet in. But what a catch. Did they? Okay. By the way, Bob, the new quarterback, his nickname is Hondo.
Hondo Franklin.
And any kid with the nickname of Hondo is okay with me. That's a great nickname.
That is a great
nickname. Of course.
Alexander Hondo Franklin, another junior quarterback. Franklin takes a snap, lofts one into the end zone, and he finds Kyle Parker, I believe, in the corner of the end zone for a Lovejoy touchdown.
Yep.
Kendrick Blakely on the coverage, but Kyle Parker put a good move on him and beat him to the corner of the end zone for a Lovejoy touchdown.
That'll be the.
Will Frost, the deep snapper for Lovejoy, gets a good one back to Redding. Redding gets it down, and Carlock puts it through. Lovejoy 49, Greenville 0.
That'll be the 11th touchdown pass of the season for Kyle Parker, touchdown reception, who, again, he is the LSU commit for Lucas Lovejoy. Had a 2-yard touchdown run earlier in the game. In fact, that was their first touchdown. This is just a 26-yard drive. They capitalize on the fumble recovery at the Greenville 26-yard line. 26 yards, 4 plays. 7-yard touchdown pass from Hondo Franklin to Kyle Parker.
I got a feeling you're going to wear that out.
It's a great.
We're going to see a lot more of Franklin than we will of Hagel for the rest of the game, that's for sure.
That's a great John Wayne movie, you know, Hondo.
We might even see Austin Gonzalez, a senior quarterback, who had 141 yards rushing last week.
Interesting. I was reading they had apparently there was quite a competition among the three for who was going to be the starter before the season started. And it was not at all a foregone conclusion that it would have been Braden Hagel.
Carlock's kick this time goes into the end zone, so the Lions will benefit from the touchback spot at the 25-yard line.
So they have an embarrassment of riches, does Lucas Lovejoy. I was reading about, and we might talk more about this at halftime, the town of Lucas in Collin County has a population of 7,500 people. So it's about 1/4 the size of Greenville. And yet they have had so much success. And really, the school has only existed since 2008. The high school has only existed for the last, whatever that is, 16 years, I guess. 14.
Johnson hands off to, I think that's Neal. And Neal has about 1.5 yards, maybe, we'll give him. Lyle might be pushed a little bit further upfield.
Travis Gant, again, man, he's come to the fore tonight for Lucas Lovejoy.
You've called his name
a lot, absolutely, yeah.
Lions in no hurry here. I think they're going to be satisfied just to get into the locker.
Well, yeah.
Offense just not been able to get any traction here at TA Cotton Ford Stadium tonight against this very tough Lovejoy defense.
No, just that 171-yard gain by Cameron Neal.
2nd and 7 for the Lions. They're in H-back formation with Sawyer Duke at the H-back, and Johnson runs strong, but only is able to pick up a couple yards.
Joseph Modine making the first contact there for the Leopards.
3rd and 5, clock running, down to 25 seconds remaining in the first half.
You're right. Anthony Johnson is big, strong youngster.
Yeah, he's 6'3" and goes, I think, over 200 pounds.
Oh, easily over 200, yeah. Looks like we're going to let the clock run out, although he's still looking to the sidelines, still signals being conveyed, so apparently they will run at least one more play.
Well, according to the play clock, they don't have to snap it, but let's see what they did. They do snap it, and Neal's got it. He's got a little bit of room. Coming out to the right side might be something really good here to end the first half. Neal down to the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10, the 5, touchdown.
Woo! Wow.
How about them apples? Wow, on the final play of the first half, Cameron Neal takes it 70 yards for a Greenville touchdown. With 1 second left when they snapped it.
And that's the great thing. You talk about, should we run that one play? If you've got that player who can break a play like that, if you get the ball into his hands, and it's worth a try.
Do you think the defense really relaxed there?
I do, absolutely. Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, I do.
Good snap. This time the kick is blocked by Lovejoy.
Look out.
Picked up and forced out of bounds. Is number 39 for Lovejoy. That's Joseph Modine, whose name's been called several times tonight on defense. So that's the end of the first half. 49-6. Lovejoy leads as we go to break. Hopefully we'll have our guest lecturer, David Claiborne, to come in and visit with John Mark Dempsey while I take a break. And give us some stats. Probably most will be the Lovejoy statistics. But it'll be interesting to know how these all these D1 commitments did here in the first half. So without further ado, we'll take a 2-minute break, and we'll try to run down Mr. Claiborne. I don't know whether we're going to have a performance by the band or not, but we'll wait and see if the rain deters that from happening.
I don't think the Lucas Lovejoy band is here.
Clearly not. All right, so let's take a 2-minute break, and we'll be right back with more Greenville Lions.
Greenville is surrounded by many beautiful trees. We all recognize the value of trees. They improve our air quality, provide cool shade in the summer, and beautify our parks and streets. However, trees and power lines are dangerous neighbors. GEUS tree trimming crews work year-round to keep primary lines and easements and alleys as clear of tree limbs as reasonable as possible. We appreciate calls pointing out particular problem areas. GEUS crews prune tree branches all around the power lines to prevent hazardous conditions and maintain uninterrupted electric services. Trimming trees near live lines is dangerous and should be only done by professionals. Don't do this yourself. In fact, by law, only qualified trained workers can prune close to power lines. Contact us to report trees that need to be trimmed next to your power lines. GEUS can trim small limbs that are making direct contact with service lines. Customers who elect to have extensive trimming done near power lines or large limbs taken out near power lines should contact GEUS. GEUS reserves the right to take electric service down temporarily for trimming by the customer's contractor, if needed for their personal safety or the safety of the electric line itself. Let's all enjoy our trees safely.
fans from the Lion Pride Band. This week's Marcher of the Week is Jet Jacob, and the section is the whole senior class. The Lion Pride Band is being sponsored by Alliance Bank, Bottle Cap Valley, Greenville Christian Education Foundation, Inspired Visions, LLC, Katie Holloway, Home Temper, Robert Clinic, the Texas Theater, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, UAW Local 967, and Victory Roofing and Sheet Metal. We would also like to say a big thank you to Shelby Tippett and Express Sun. The Lion Pride Band is under the direction of Samantha Jaboy, Kelsey Mathias, Luke Daly, Matt Ownby, and Marina Coronado, and Richard Burke. The color guard instructor is Deanna Campbell. Thank you and have a great evening.
Oh, oh, I know it is. What's on the sweater? The live stream catching.
Greenville became the first municipally owned public power electric utility in Texas in 1891, when privately owned companies were only interested in serving large cities such as Dallas and Fort Worth. Greenville citizens took destiny into their own hands and began producing their own power. Today, more than 130 years later, GEUS continues to provide this vital service to our community. Public power has a long history nationwide of supplying electricity to communities when investor-owned utilities wouldn't or couldn't provide this crucial service. The nation's 2,000-plus community-owned utilities currently supply power to millions of people in 49 states and 5 U.S. territories. The communities range in size from being very small to the largest public power system, which is owned by citizens of Los Angeles, California. San Antonio is the second largest city in the U.S. receiving public power. Municipally owned, public power utilities answer directly to their customers. Decisions are made locally by citizens of the community. Because public power utilities are owned by their communities and are not motivated by profits, rates are typically lower than investor-owned utilities and reliability is higher. Public power utilities value providing local customer services such as local offices with pay centers. GEUS is a public power utility. That means your utility is community-owned and not-for-profit. GEUS is proud to be your local public power utility. Do not let a Wi-Fi issue ruin your day, because there are plenty of tips that you could use to restore a lost internet connection. Here's a few helpful internet troubleshooting tips that could help you out. First, check your Wi-Fi settings. Phones and tablets also have settings that turn Wi-Fi on and off. Make sure that this is turned on so you can connect to your network. Also, make sure to check your wide area network and your local area network connections. These Ethernet cables go to and from your router. Sometimes a quick unplug for 30 seconds of the router can help fix connectivity issues. This is very common in the cases where the router has not been turned off in a while. When resetting your router, you should reboot the modem as well. This will force everything to capture a new IP address. Also, if possible, to hook the computer directly to the modem and check to see if you have a connection. If you are used to connecting automatically when in range of a router but are no longer able to, changes may have been made to the network while you are away. Please check other devices on your network to see if anything else will connect. Sometimes issues are isolated to one device. GEUS offers technical support 24/7 by calling 866-467-9794. GEUS customer service representatives are also available during business hours to assist you right here in Greenville by calling 903-457-2800.
It was a thrill when you were working, especially a storm after a storm.
I was probably 9 or 10, and I watched my dad climb a pole in the pouring rain to get the lights back on. My dad's eyes lit up when he found out Levi, my son, had got hired on at GEUS to be a lineman.
My family's been in GEUS for a long time, and I kind of felt like that's where I wanted to head.
Yes. I thought Steven hugging a girl. No. Send me something. Send me something. While he was speaking. Bro. That's some teammates. Is it this application or is it like full, like when like a day, like when it's not raining?
All right, how's that sound, Matthew? We sounding pretty good? All right, Bob Muty back here at TA Ford Stadium with John Mark Dempsey. Matthew Middleton at the controls. Hasn't been a really exciting game from a Greenville standpoint until that last play, John.
that was fun. A 70-yard touchdown run by Cameron Neal. He had a 71-yard run a little bit earlier in the second quarter, so he has almost 150 yards rushing just on those two plays, Bob.
That's crazy because
they have had, Greenville's had 6 3-and-outs in the first half, and you've been talking about the defense being tired and being on the field so much. That's a big part of that. And Lovejoy has run 42 plays to 25 plays for Greenville. Wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but approaching twice as many plays as Greenville is.
Well, now you got to see Micah Simpson play against Poteet.
Yes.
I guess. And,
yes, we did.
And against Crandall.
Yes.
And what were your impressions? Of course,
well,
you got to see him against Lake Dallas as well.
Right. Well, he's a great athlete. He's a super athlete, and that he obviously is carrying the team on his shoulders, and for whatever reason he has not been available last week and this week, and we'll see about next week. But they sure do miss him. I'll tell you that. I mean, they are lost without him on offense, and Anthony Johnson has gotten better. And especially in the second half against Melissa last week, he looked very good. But as I say, I'm sure they were not using their first unit guys there in the second half. We'll see what happens here in the second half. But he showed a lot of promise there in the second half.
You would expect Coach Ross from Lovejoy to call off the dogs here in the second half as well. So Johnson might have a better opportunity to show what he's capable of doing.
The rain, no doubt, has affected him more than it's affected Braden Hagel for Lucas Lovejoy. I was outside during halftime, and the rain, for the moment at least, has stopped. Yeah. It does not seem to be raining now, but at one point in the first half, it's a little bit hard when we look out at the field to see if it actually is raining. But then when you look at the stands just in front of us, you can really see those raindrops hitting the seats, the empty seats, and there's quite a few empty seats here.
Yeah, there's
tonight.
a pretty good crowd, but most of them are huddled under the bleachers during halftime.
A lot of them under the bleachers now, and I don't know how many will be back in the second half. But the rain, for the moment anyway, has stopped. Matthew Middleton, our video producer, told us before the game that we had over an inch of rain today in Greenville, and I bet we've had something approaching a half of an inch of rain since then.
Started,
yeah, something like that.
Well, getting back to Micah Simpson, Coach Duke told me there's a possibility that he might be back next week.
I would think so, and again, I don't know what the circumstances are, but I have thought about that, and that sure would help, because it looks like Terrell is is coming on.
Yeah,
they just were destroying Poteet.
Yeah, it's what, 61-22 or something?
I haven't heard an update. At one point, it was 31-0. Of course, the Lions, gosh, I think really expected to beat Poteet, and but Poteet just they stayed with them step for step all night long in that game, and then finally put together what I thought was a fantastic game-ending drive there, or near game-ending drive, and had a field goal to win the game with about a minute to go. But
all right, well, I apologize for any audio difficulties that we're having with my microphone tonight, but I think Matthew's finally got me squared away.
We have new microphones.
Micah Simpson, not microphone, is he's just a quality guy, and he can make something out of nothing, which he did most of the first half of the season.
Well, they would be competitive in every game, pretty much, with the possible exception of that Lake Dallas game. They were in the game. It was a competitive game. And I look back at that Lake Dallas game later, and Lake Dallas went 6-0. They did not lose until I believe they played Argyle, lost the 7th game. So that made that loss not look quite so bad.
And they played Argyle pretty close too.
Yes, they did. They played them a tough game.
And Argyle's ranked #1, by the way.
So Greenville has played a tough schedule this year. I mean, there's no question about it. Lake Dallas, Chapel Hill, Crandall, Poteet, Lovejoy. I think Terrell is getting better as the season goes along. We'll see next week if Micah Simpson might be back next week. I think Greenville could be very competitive against Terrell.
Yeah, apparently Terrell is really, really coming on. 61 points, I think, is what.
Now, am I correct that Marvin Sedberry is the head coach there?
No, Marvin
that is his son.
Yeah, his son is the head coach. Marvin is one of the coordinators.
I see. That's a Sedberry operation there.
Right. I'll be interested if we get to see Marvin next week.
You bet.
I had the great pleasure of calling the games during Greenville's heyday.
Yeah, what a great era that was.
Indeed.
So exciting that Greenville went from 1960 to 1996, I believe it was, without ever making the playoffs. And then finally, under Marvin Sedberry there in '96, they broke through, and then had some really great years for the next 5 or 6 years after that.
Yep. Well, and looking back over this season for the Lions, I mean, clearly the Denison game was a winnable game.
Yep.
And had they beaten, and then
a very different picture.
Obviously, the Poteet game was a tough loss. They could have won that one, and they'd be 3-2 in district, and instead of being 1-4. So.
No, they were in most of these games. Chapel Hill was a bit of a blowout, but still they put some points on the board.
Well, and right now Chapel Hill's ranked number 3.
Right. All right. I mean, again, they have played a very tough schedule. Yeah. And as you see the Lions coming out onto the field here for the second half, if you were to count heads, I don't know how many kids that is. Maybe we can do that, but that's not a heck of a lot more than maybe 24 or so.
Yeah, it's a short squad for sure.
I mean, there's just so. The kids that are on the field pretty much are going to have to stay on the field.
Yeah, and they lost Jaden Johnson, sophomore running back. Leg injury of some sort, and I don't think we're going to see him back. I don't see him.
Actually, no, that's
street clothes or not.
No, that's not him. I thought I saw him just for a moment, but no.
Lovejoy will receive to start the second half, leading by a score of 49-6.
Great first half for Matt Maynard. Their running back had a 8-yard touchdown run, a 7-yard touchdown run, and a 35-yard run. Kyle Parker has a couple of touchdowns, one a rushing touchdown, one a receiving touchdown. And their quarterback, Braden Hagel, has a couple of touchdown passes. They spread it around. They have a lot of guys touch the football, and that's a tremendous advantage for an offense when you can do that.
Well, they've put up 70 against Mesquite Poteet last week. They put up 70 against Princeton earlier in the season. Let's hope that they don't against the.
These sort of games have a way of settling down in the second half, and frankly, getting a little dull. And I think actually from Greenville's standpoint, that might be the best thing. If that's
Got
what
an
happens.
update from Caddo Mills. The Foxes lead Sunnyvale 16-7 at the half.
Right, Caddo Mills program has come a long way in recent years.
I'm smelling like something's burning. Are you smelling
I think
something
that
burning?
has to do. There's a heater that we have on in the box. I think that's what is.
Here's
that.
Ibarra's kick. It's going to come down at the 25-yard line. Fair call there by So the worst field position for Lovejoy tonight, their own 25-yard line is a starting spot for this possession.
Yeah, they had field position at the 34, their own 34, their own 45, their own 46, the Greenville 35, the Greenville 45, then the Lovejoy 29, and then the Greenville 26 after a fumble recovery in the first half.
Okay, let's see if it's Hagel in the backfield. It's a run quarterback keeper. We'll see if it's Franklin or Hagel. Franklin wears number 10. Austin Gonzalez.
That is Austin Gonzalez, yeah.
Gonzalez, like we said, had 141 yards rushing against Poteet, so it looks like he might get the most of the action here in the second half at quarterback. He is a senior.
He's a tiny little fella for a quarterback.
High snap, handoff around right tackle. Might be that's
Colin Williams.
His first carry tonight. A long drink of water. What do you have on his stats? Do you have anything on him?
He is 5'10", 180.
Big kid. And once again,
now they list,
only a junior.
They list Gonzalez at 5'8", but I'm not sure he's 5'8".
Well, another high snap. Drops the ball. Gonzalez now under pressure, and the Lions got him. He tries to throw, get rid of it. It doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage.
It's Andrew Ibarres was all over him there.
Yeah, that would Yeah, the ball did not get back to the line of scrimmage. So
Matthew Middleton saying it should be intentional grounding, and I think he's got a good point. But
apparently in high school things are a little bit different.
I don't
they
think
could have called him into the grass very easily.
That also.
But it's going to be 3rd and 10 for Lovejoy. Ball at the 42-yard line of Greenville. Gonzalez takes a snap, hands to Williams. Williams breaks one tackle and makes it for about a 2-yard gain, but that'll bring up a third.
Broke the tackle of Andrew Ibarres, then Khalil Parker dragged him down.
3rd and 7 for the Leopards. Ball sitting at their own 45-yard line. Shotgun formation. Looking to the sidelines for the call. 17 on the play clock.
Do you remember a little quarterback that played for SMU in the mid-'60s named Inez Perez?
I do. There's a Perez on the field tonight, too. Gonzalez looking deep. He's got a man wide open, and he just overshoots him just by a hair.
He was open by 15 yards.
Oh, wow. Just totally lost it.
Blake Redding, and just overthrew him. Now, Redding got his hands on the ball, might have made that catch.
Coming over the wrong shoulder, and he tried to make the adjustment and just couldn't quite do it.
Inez Perez, I think, was 5'3". when he played for the SMU Mustangs, and I remember they upset Texas A&M with him at quarterback.
That's pretty tiny.
Flutie, I think, was 5'7". Matthew asking.
There's a fumble on the reception by Greenville. Might have been DeJuan Kennedy tried to field that, and he was hit immediately. Never really had control of the ball, so that's another Greenville turnover. It's the second real big turnover by the Lions, and they give the ball right back to Lovejoy inside their own 20-yard line.
Matthew was referring to Doug Flutie as another small quarterback. I think Doug Flutie was 5'7". Eddie LeBaron played for the Dallas Cowboys in the early years at 5'7". Yeah. He was a good one, though.
It's like Alexander Franklin now in at quarterback for Lovejoy with Williams in the backfield.
That was a 54-yard punt moments ago, by the way.
Good punt by Carlock, unfortunately muffed by the Greenville receiver. No gain on that play, actually a loss of 2 yards by Williams.
I think Kevin Tran and Khalil Parker combining on that tackle for Greenville.
2nd and 12 for Lucas. Franklin once again hands to Williams. Williams up the middle. They're pushing the pile down inside the 15-yard line. About a gain of 5. 3rd and we'll call it 7 for Lovejoy. I think they might have some of their second-team players in there. What do you think, John?
Yeah,
Mark?
I think so. Big Richard Medina, who came into the game with 22 tackles, defensive tackle for the Lions, and just a junior, made that stop.
Once again, Kalen Williams, and he's wrestled, thrown out of bounds by Ibarra on the far side. So clearly the second offensive line for Lovejoy is not clearly as efficient or stout as Matthew said at the first string line. So 4th down and 11. 8:24 and the clock running as Franklin decides what coach wants to do. See if they'll keep it on the ground and just be satisfied just to give the ball back to the Lions. Franklin drops back, looking deep into the corner. He's got a man.
Oh, great play.
Nice defensive play there in the back of the end zone. Prevents a touchdown.
That's DeJuan Kennedy. Bob, I'm sorry I stepped on you there, but that DeJuan Kennedy, great defensive play there for Greenville.
Well, he avenged his fumble, and the Lions will take it on their own 20-yard line. I'm sorry, their own 18-yard line. So let's see if the Greenville offense can get some traction against the reserves. I'm guessing it'll be the reserves for Lovejoy. I still see number 42, Jagger, there at linebacker, as well as Michael Modine, who saw some time in the first half. But it looks like there are some reserves in there for Lovejoy. Anthony Johnson takes a snap, hands off, and very little yardage for the running back up the middle.
That's Cameron Neal, Bob.
Neal with 2 huge runs in the first half. 141 yards on 2 plays and a touchdown on that last play of the first half. It added a little bit of excitement for a team that didn't have much to talk about in the first half, the Greenville Lions.
Linebacker Michael Modine and defensive back Kevin McGee teaming up on the tackle for the Leopards.
2nd and 9 for the Lions. Makes the handoff. Johnson got a little bit of room off right tackle, moves forward for positive yardage.
Jagger, Shanley, and Will Brown teaming up to stop Anthony Johnson there.
That's almost as good a name as Hondo. Jagger.
Yeah.
Jagger Shanley.
Kind of flashy, jumping jack flash kind of field there.
Shanley is a senior, and a lot of these starters for Lovejoy are juniors starting ahead of the senior class. So
That's right.
They're going to have They're going to have a team again next year.
Maybe.
Fake that time to Neal. Johnson rolling to his left, has some room. He's up near the 30-yard line and beyond. He's got a Greenville first down.
Now that's what we saw a lot in the second half last week against Melissa, Bob. That looks a lot like what we enjoyed from Anthony Johnson.
Well, I'm relatively confident that that Greenville can compete against the reserves for both Melissa and Lovejoy. But you got to remember these two teams that we faced these last 2 weeks are they're quality football teams. Jaqueline Davis in motion. Haven't heard much from him tonight. Johnson takes a snap, hands to Neal. Neal stumbles and gets back to the line of scrimmage.
Dylan Kennedy, linebacker, senior for the Leopards, cutting the feet out from under Cameron Neal.
The sophomore lineman Braden Gibson, number 54, getting a little time. In fact, he runs off now, being replaced by Braxton Allbell. 2nd and 11 for the Lions. Junior quarterback throws left, finds his man, scrambling upfield for a short pickup is Hayden McGuire.
Hayden McGuire has not caught many balls this year.
That may be his first.
It may be. I don't remember seeing him in the stats, so good for him.
He's pumped.
Good for him.
Good for him is right. All right, that play results in a short gain, so it's 3rd, and we'll call it a long 8. Got timeout for an equipment problem, I think. Or maybe an injury, I'm not sure. No charge timeout to the Lions.
Right, they did not take a timeout off the scoreboard there.
McGuire getting a hand slap from one of the coaches on the sideline on his first catch of the season. McGuire, a senior, was honored earlier this evening along with his other classmates. Neal goes right. Davis takes the pitch or the pass from Johnson. I think he was intending to pitch that thing off to Neal, who was coming around behind him. What do you think, Jay?
Very well could be. It might have worked out pretty well, too.
Unfortunately, they got Lovejoy got to Davis before he could pitch it back to Neal, but I think that was the design of the play.
Yeah, that was Aaron Marshall who had him pretty securely wrapped up there, junior defensive back for the Leopards.
They'll bring up a 4th and 5. Andrew Ibarro in punt formation, standing his own 26-yard line. Deep to receive, standing at his 28. Lovejoy. Ball is almost blocked. It might have been partially blocked, actually.
I think, yeah, maybe got a finger on it.
And the ball comes down at midfield and bounces backwards toward Greenville. Or it is there by Joel Luna.
Well, that's a net of about +3 on that punt there.
Might have been an offside against Lovejoy. If that is, that might be first down.
This has been a relatively penalty-free game, I will say that, and that's merciful under the circumstances.
Well, they almost blocked that punt, and it could be that they got a little bit of an early start.
It is offsides.
All right, so that'll be a first down conversion by penalty for the Lions, and they'll take them any way they can get them.
Sure, you bet.
3:52 remaining here in the third quarter of a 49-6 game, Lovejoy leading.
Well, it's especially fortuitous for Greenville because otherwise Lovejoy would have had the football there at the Greenville 43-yard line after that apparently partially blocked punt. And instead, Greenville has the first down at their own 45.
Greenville in the H-back formation, so Sawyer Duke, son of Coach Darren Duke, is in at the H-back position, coming left, looking for a block. Neal goes right, however, and he's loose, down to the 30, the 20, and he's forced out of bounds inside the 20-yard line.
Great jump cut there by Cameron Neal, going into the line, then cut it back to the sideline, and then all the way to the 16-yard line. So that is a gain for Cameron Neal. Another good one of 39 yards.
Yeah, that play was clearly designed to go to the left behind the H-back, and he just cut it back and found an opening. First and 10 for the Lions. Ball spotted at the 16-yard line of Lovejoy.
So Cameron Neal probably is over 200 yards rushing at this point.
Anthony Johnson fakes to Neal this time. And on the keeper, advances the ball.
We saw him run over some Melissa Cardinals last week. And I would estimate Bob, he's 6'3", 6'4", 220, 230. I mean, he's a big fella.
Yeah, I think For 6'3", 220, coach telling me those were his
I
stats.
don't know why, but some programs don't like to put the heights and weights down.
Yeah, well, Greenville's one of them. Coming to his left, Johnson dragging people, but not very successfully. Brought down about the line of scrimmage. Maybe we'll give him a half a yard.
Michael Modine, whose name we've said a lot, and Joseph Modine, and I would guess that they are brothers, team up on the tackle there.
Johnson's a really, really big guy, as we've said, but he doesn't possess great foot speed.
No.
Has a strong arm.
He physically looks a lot like Ben Roethlisberger.
Indeed. Byron Leftwich.
Yeah.
Okay. Lions ready now on 3rd and 5. Handoff to Fisher, and Fisher's brought down behind the line of scrimmage.
Dylan Kennedy knifing in there to take his feet out from under him, the linebacker.
So 4th and 5.
This has been by far the best Greenville drive of the night. They started at their own 18-yard line. This will be the 11th play of the drive. And a 13-yard run by Anthony Johnson and a 39-yard run by Cameron Neal.
So most of the damage done on the ground. Rolling right is Johnson. Looking down, has a man wide open. I think that's Jaqueline Davis. He picks that one right off the turf. Nice catch by Davis, and he's down close to the goal line.
Well, I thought the ball had skipped in there, to tell you the truth.
I
glad
did
to learn
too.
that apparently he did snag it.
I did too.
Wow.
Got
Fantastic.
his hands underneath apparently, and that's a first down conversion and a first down for the Lions at the 2-yard line of Lovejoy.
Just about to run out of time here in the third quarter. It's been a fast third quarter.
Lions hoping to punch it in, narrow the margin. Fisher moves to the left of Johnson. Hand off to Fisher, and Fisher busts his way into the end zone for a touchdown. Maybe Justin Fisher's first score of the year.
Definitely.
Yeah, Fisher's pretty pumped up too. He gets the high five chest bump with Sawyer Duke. Gets another one from
He's a
Andrew
senior,
Ibarra.
and I don't know about last year, but this is definitely his first touchdown of this season. So one that he will remember.
Clearly, normally a defensive player. Fisher's excited beyond measure to get that touchdown. Kick is up and good by Andrew Ibarra. So the Lions have 13 on the board now against 49 for the Lovejoy Leopards.
Again,
26 seconds remaining, JM.
Sorry, Bobby. Again, if you're looking at the scoreboard on the telecast here via GEUS and YouTube, the scoreboard is malfunctioning. So it looks like right now, wow, Greenville's up 13-9. Upset in the making. But in fact, it is 49 to 13.
Yeah, it is interesting. Matthew's setup here has so many different screens because he's got all these cameras set up. And if you tune in and you look at the scoreboard, you think, man, this is a heck of an upset. But indeed, the first digit on the visitor scoreboard is not functioning. So it is 49-13. The line, courtesy of his first touchdown of the year, now have 13 on the board. So Ibarra's got the ball set at the 40 for the kickoff.
Bob, that was an 82-yard drive in 12 plays for Greenville.
Little pop-over kick, fair catch called for at the 25 by Parker Livingstone.
Big play on that drive, or a big factor on that drive was the offside penalty against Lovejoy on 4th down when Greenville had in fact punted. And in fact, the punt had been partially blocked, and they were going to have the ball at the Greenville 43-yard line, but they were offside, and that allowed that drive to continue.
Yeah, that was a huge, huge break for the Lions.
And then Greenville had the 39-yard run by Cameron Neal down to the 16-yard line.
Well, he's pushing the 200-yard mark.
Oh, I think
we can get it.
I think he's got it.
All right, hand off to Kalen Williams. Williams straight up the gut for about 10 yards.
Scott Brock, a senior for Greenville, going low and taking his feet out from under him there.
That'll move the chains. Ball placed now at the 37-yard line of Lucas. Austin Gonzalez, the senior, is in at quarterback now with Kalen Williams in the backfield with him. And that is the end of the third quarter as the clock runs down to 0. JM and I need a drink of water, so we're going to take a 30-second break here, and we'll be right back with more Greenville Lions football. All right, Bob Muty and John Mark Dempsey back with you at TA Cotton Ford Stadium. Weather has kind of settled down. Not so many umbrellas seen down in the bleachers, and not much in the way of possibly a drizzle still coming down.
Yeah, a little, very light rain.
First and 10 for Lovejoy's. Handoff to Kalen Williams, I think.
Yes. So for Greenville on the tackle there, Jonathan Sampson, who had 75 tackles coming into the ball game. And also, I did say Jonathan Sampson, but Andrew Ibarra also helping out on the tackle.
Sampson's he's been one of the stellar defensive players for the Lions all season.
Yes, he has.
Tighter formation for Lovejoy this time. Gonzalez hands off, and Williams goes straight up the middle. Tackled by a pride of Lions up at about the 41-yard line. Called a gain of 5.
Again, Jonathan Sampson, last one to get up off the pile there. He is just a junior.
And a block below the waist. I'm sorry. This is a penalty against Greenville with a block below the waist.
Well, we saw that, I don't know if it was last week. I guess it was last week we saw that.
Shot block, I guess.
Yeah, they are now calling that against defenders. And it was a surprise to me also last week.
Well, that's a 15-yarder, so that moves the ball inside the Greenville territory at their own 44-yard line. So big break on the penalty for Lovejoy. Not that many penalties against Greenville in this game, and Kalen Williams is just brought down with a beautiful tackle by Sampson, right at the 45-yard line.
That's right. I think that's the third play in a row, which he's made the tackle. And that's a tackle for loss there.
Second.
And again, we emphasize he is a junior, so he's one that'll be back.
And looking at this roster, this Lovejoy roster, it's incredible how many underclassmen are on this.
I agree. I agree. They are going to be a monster next year.
Yeah, they really are. Gonzalez hands off to Kalen Williams. Williams is hit after about a 3-yard pickup. Greenville defense is clearly able to hold their own much better against the reserve offensive line.
That's right.
Lovejoy.
Andrew Ibarra, what a contribution he has made both sides of the ball, which you're on the tackle there.
Yeah, I bet Braylon Rios is getting a little time on offense in place of Ibarra. We'll wait and see if we see number 67. I'm sorry, number 57 on the offensive line for the Lions in the next series. Gonzalez looking downfield, rolling right now. Throws downfield, has a man wide open at the 15. That's Redding. Redding making his way to the end zone. I think I see a penalty, but he's into the end zone. Let's wait and see what the call is.
There's 2 flags down over on the far side.
The Lovejoy Leopards are not moving toward the end zone, so I got to believe this is going to be a penalty against Lucas Lovejoy.
Pass interference against the Leopards.
So maybe Redding got his hands on somebody in order to get that open, because he clearly was wide open. And now we're not sure. Now they're walking toward actually, I guess they marked it from the spot of the foul, and they bring it back up to the Greenville 16-yard line. It will be a first down.
I thought for sure I saw pass interference indicated, but
Anyway, we've got play going, and Kalen Williams is loose. He's got an easy touchdown. Steps into the end zone and lays the ball down. He was going there. That's how open he was. So.
I would like to see that that previous play again. I tell you, clearly Lovejoy was penalized on the play, but the indication must not have been pass interference. He must have not seen that correctly.
The snap, hold, and kick are good by Caden Carlock. 55-13, Lovejoy leads with 9:25 remaining.
It'll be 56 now.
It is 56, as a matter of fact. The guys on the scoreboard were a little late getting that 6. So 9:25 remaining in this one. 56-13.
Well,
as Lovejoy tries to put 70 up on the board again for the third time this year.
75 yards and 6 plays on that drive. And the long pass play to Blake Redding from Austin Gonzalez was the big play on the drive.
Yeah, you talked about the competition between the quarterbacks.
Right.
And I can see it. They're all
pretty darn good, aren't they?
Very composed. And
the head coach is, of course, as we said in the pregame, Chris Ross. He is 31-5 in 3 years here at Lucas Lovejoy. And his career his record is 139-57.
He's a pretty good coach. Ball is fumbled by Washington. They still can't find it. Finally picked up and buried at the 6-7 yard line. Is probably
right. Yeah,
on the football down there.
You would think offsides. It's back at near the 40-yard line, where, of course, the kickoff originated. Yeah, Chris Ross coached also at Wichita Falls for a number of years. He's not a young kid. Cedar Park, Prosper, and Red Oak before coming to Lovejoy 3 seasons. But yeah, he has a very good record, and obviously they have built a terrific program there, and they had a good program before he came. But they are very well coached.
They got a pretty good volleyball program,
yes,
too.
They do.
State finalist
right.
in volleyball. So Greenville volleyballers kept Lovejoy working when they played them here at the Greenville gym. Here's the kickoff by Carlock. It's going to come down to Washington at about the 11. Washington stutters around, and he's brought down. Forward progress will be marked at about the 19-yard line. Washington doesn't look comfortable in that receiver position.
Yeah, he's
a little tentative.
In need of some more experience, and obviously a little nervous about it, and I don't blame him. But I think he's looked pretty good at running back at times.
Well, he started tonight, but now Justin Fisher is getting most of the action.
Well, and rightly so, probably, because he's a senior. But Greg Washington, we are told Greg Washington III was brought up from the junior varsity last week.
And he's in there right now with Anthony Johnson. Let's see if he gets the handoff. Indeed, he does. And he's got some room. Sidesteps a tackler.
Yep.
And he's got a pickup of 6 or 7 yards.
Yeah, he had some runs like that in the second half last week against Melissa. Looked pretty good.
Well, there are several sophomores on the roster that Coach Duke has had to bring up because he was just so undermanned. He gets that handoff and picks up a couple of yards. Bring of a 3rd and 2 for the Lions.
I
Ball
count
spotted at the 27-yard line.
Bob, I count 19 Greenville kids in pads on the bench, so that would give them a total of 30 suited up for the game tonight. That's not a large number.
Yeah, 7:50 remaining here in this one. Quaylen Davis in the slot to the right, H-back formation. Duke comes over. It's a good block. Washington is out beyond the sticks for a first down.
Good.
Greg Washington with a first down conversion, one of the few that the Lions have had tonight.
Will Brown, 240-pound, 6'2", down lineman, a senior for Lucas Lovejoy, makes the tackle.
2 receivers right, 1 to the left. Washington and Johnson in the backfield. Johnson takes a snap, finds Neal to the right, or is that Orsornio? Orsornio.
Yeah.
Noe Orsornio, but he's tackled immediately for no gain.
Thomas Harp with the tackle there for Lovejoy. Lions closing out the regular season next Friday night at Terrell. And of course, we will have that game for you on GEUS and YouTube.
And the Tigers are coming on strong here at the tail end of the season under Coach Sedbury. Johnson now finds Davis on a nice catch. It almost looked like it might have been a backwards pass, and there's a fumble. Ball pops out of Davis's hands, and that's a forward lateral there. But it looks like this is going to be a turnover. And Davis has yet to get up.
Jaquaylin Davis giving it second effort and making it hard to bring him down, but in doing so, they stripped the football from him, and Blake Redding picked it up and took it down the sideline there, and then looked like he lateraled to another player, but the whistles clearly blew at that point and the play stopped. So I don't know exactly where the ball is going to be placed. I think it will be Lovejoy's football here.
Almost could have been, forward progress there, because he was seemed like he was there for a long time before anybody blew the whistle. Davis is up and okay walking off the field. But the Greenville defense now is on the field after that turnover. So Lovejoy will take over once again in excellent field position, this time at the Greenville 23-yard line.
I haven't seen that exact play by Greenville so far this season. It was a fake to the running back and then looked like a read option there by Anthony Johnson. Then he kind of pitched it overhand, however, out to Jaquaylin Davis and had a nice gain on it.
Yeah, there goes Khalil Williams or Kalen Williams. I keep mispronouncing Kalen's name. He picks up a few yards. Yeah, I think that's what they're referring today as an RPO.
Right.
Run pass option.
That's right.
Because Johnson clearly had some room to run, but by getting it out to Davis, it was going to be an even better gainer. Now we got a man down for the Lions. Might be a cramp. One of the big guys up front, I think. So we'll take a 30-second break and wet our whistles. All right, back, and Greenville player is up on his feet, being helped off the field. That is number 33, Jonathan Sampson. Trainer's helping him to the sidelines.
Sampson, the number one tackler on the Greenville defense, was 75 coming into the ballgame, a linebacker, and a junior who will return next season.
And let's hope he'll be back for next week's game against Terrell.
Yeah,
we'll be meeting him for sure.
Doesn't seem to be in too much
it looks like maybe a lower leg injury of some sort. Able to walk pretty much on his own coming off the field. Oh, 1st and 10, Lovejoy. I'm sorry, 2nd after the run by Williams, 2nd and 4. Just got a Caddo Mills update. They're ahead of Sunnyvale now, 30-14. So the Foxes looking good in that one. And that is for first place in that district. And if the Foxes win that one, they will remain undefeated for the season. Okay, looks like we're going to have 3rd and 1 for Lovejoy. 5:22 and the clock running here in this ball game.
Malachi Thornton, a linebacker on the tackle that time. I beg your pardon, looking at the wrong.
I was going to say, I don't remember that name.
No, that's a Lovejoy. Now, is Anthony Johnson out there on defense? He is. That was Anthony Johnson on the tackle. I'm sorry, it was Anthony Johnson. Wow.
There's Kalen Williams scooting his way down inside the 5-yard line for Lucas Lovejoy first down.
Yeah, first time I've seen Anthony Johnson on defense. Now, I may have just been oblivious to it, but.
Well, that'll be a good sign. I thought that that he was done for the night. So if Johnson's back in there, I think I see Johnson down on the sideline.
No, he's.
No, 23's down on here on the
sideline.
sideline.
No, I'm talking about Anthony Johnson.
Oh, Anthony Johnson. I'm sorry. Okay. Big Anthony Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. He's as Matthew said, in the middle. I don't know if it's a safety or it looks like a linebacker for sure.
And he blitzes in. Williams has the ball, but he's not into the end zone. Yeah, I'm sorry, JM. I had Anthony and Jaden mixed up there.
Now, are they possibly brothers? I should have asked about that.
That I do not know, but
that
Jaden Johnson is on crutches, so he's okay. We got a final from Caddo Mills. Caddo Mills 30, Sunnyvale 14.
Wow,
good go on you, Foxes. Still waiting on a having trouble getting a score. That game might have been delayed.
Andrew Ibarra made that last tackle.
3rd and goal. Kalen Williams is into the end zone for a Lovejoy touchdown.
And the Greenville defense obviously very tired at this point, and understandably so.
Yeah, and the Lovejoy reserves now have a little bit of an advantage because of that fatigue level.
Right.
I'll tell you a guy who's been busy tonight is Caden Carlisle. Of course, he's been busy all season.
Yes, he has.
Extra points. I don't think he's missed one this year. Every score I've seen, it's been an even number 7. So
yeah.
He's good again, and it's 63-13. Lovejoy. Yeah, Celeste was playing Santo tonight, and coming into the game, which it was played at Santo, and I have to admit, I don't know where Santo is.
I do not know.
Santo came in at 7-1. Celeste was at 6-2. The write-up by David Claiborne indicated that Jamaica Rector, the former Blue Devil player, excellent player, I think went on to play at East Texas State, if I'm not mistaken. One of the Rectors did. Anyway, he's got Demetrius Rector, the two of them both on the staff there at the Celeste High School, so they're in pretty good hands.
That's a 23-yard drive there for Lucas Lovejoy in 4 plays. It was set up on the fumble recovery by Blake Redding at the Greenville 23, and they get the touchdown on the run by Kalen Williams, 2 yards, 63-13.
And we now know where Santo is because David Claiborne had it in his article. It's 30 miles from Weatherford in Palo Pinto County.
Wow.
So Celeste has had to go a long way, and they may have all kinds of weather conditions out there. Oh, my goodness. Matthew Middleton get a final as Greg Washington brings that ball up outside the 20-yard line. Santo has defeated Celeste 20-17.
That's amazing that they're in the same district. I presume that's a district game this late in the season.
Yep.
Gosh. You know, you see that in West Texas where teams have to travel tremendous distances to play each other. I'm very familiar with Alpine.
Listen to these other teams that are in Celeste District. Munster and Collinsville, in addition to Santo.
Yeah, that's not quite as far as Santo, but yeah, that's a far-flung district.
Munster's a pretty good haul. That's German country up there.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, Lions 1st and 10 at the 21-yard line with 3:07 remaining. Anthony Johnson, quarterback, linebacker, keeps the ball, goes around left tackle, picks up about 7 yards. Beginning to get his legs underneath him is Anthony Johnson. I think he likes playing that defense. They've got him fired up.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of potential there. And at quarterback, I mean, with the off season.
Clearly, he won't be able to play both ways next year, though, on a regular basis.
You would not expect so.
It's good that the coaches are giving him an opportunity to get in there and play a little defense, hit somebody else for a change. That's Greg Washington on the carry. He's up close to moving the chains, just beyond the 30-yard line. Justin Fisher on the carry. It was not Washington. My bad. Thank you, Matthew. Third and short for the Lions.
Bob, I did much of the Poteet game, the play-by-play, looking at a flat screen television in our booth, and it was fantastic. I enjoy doing it that way.
There goes Johnson on a keeper around right side, bowls a couple of people over, including Michael Modine, for another Greenville Lion first down. 1:37 remaining in this one. Lions trail Lucas Lovejoy 63-13.
By the way, big game in Commerce tomorrow, A&M Commerce versus Incarnate Word. Lions, their first year in the Southland Conference, and they are tearing it up. They're 3-0, and that game may decide the Southland Conference Championship tomorrow at 2 in Commerce.
Go blue and gold. Fake by Johnson. Now he's going to keep it. He's loose at midfield, down to the 45, the 40, running over tacklers inside the 40-yard line for another Greenville first down. Big Anthony Johnson. Rumbles.
Again, we saw a lot of that kind of thing last week in the second half.
So with 50 seconds remaining and the clock running, Greenville now has the ball inside Lovejoy territory.
It's 22-yard gain on that play.
Johnson tried to get a hook and go with his receiver on that one, but never got to pull the trigger because he was pressured. Handoff this time. No, he keeps it, throws it out, and O'Neal is just hammered.
Well, that was the play we saw on the previous possession that went to Jaqueline Davis, and he made a nice play, but then lost the handle on the ball.
Yeah, Johnson hung Cameron Neal out to dry there.
Yeah.
Wow, good hit on the part of the defensive cornerback by Lovejoy. 2nd and 10. Clock stops with the incomplete pass. 27 seconds remaining.
The outcome here, of course, is decided, but you know the Lions would love to put up one more touchdown here.
Oh, yeah. No question. We'll look for the long pass. Got 2 receivers left and 1 to the right. On the keeper, Johnson bouncing off tacklers, pushing blockers away, trying to shed tacklers, still on his feet, but going backwards. So his forward progress will be right about the line of scrimmage.
He is a big, strong young man. You know that? He really is. And it took Mason Dragoo and Will Brown to bring him down, along with some help from 2 or 3 other.
And the fans count it down. That's the end of the ball game. Final score, Lovejoy 63, Greenville 13. All right, good show of sportsmanship by the both teams as they congratulate one another at midfield. Tough one for the Lions tonight.
Sure,
and it's
but
be
you know, I mean, I think that there's not a heck of a lot more you could expect, Bob. Again, under the circumstances.
Yeah,
so,
clearly.
But this Lucas Lovejoy is a very, very good team. Melissa's a very good team. And I don't think I will take the time to drive to Lucas to see that game next Thursday night, but you know, I would be tempted to do it because that's going to be a heck of a game, and,
no question.
It will certainly decide the district championship.
Yeah, and we talk about how thin the lineup is with Greenville. Now we see 2 players on crutches after this one: Jamorian Stevenson, who is a starter in the secondary at safety, and then Jaden Johnson, who was a starting linebacker tonight.
Wow!
And is one of our key running backs. Neither one, I would guess, or speculation, we should expect to see on the field next week. So
further depletion of the Greenville roster there. Yeah, that's.
So we'll wait and see if Micah Simpson makes a return tomorrow night from Tiger Stadium down in Terrell. John, Mark, and I and Matthew will be down there at 7:30 on Friday night to bring that one to you. Once again, final score here in Greenville: TA Cotton Forge Stadium, Lucas Lovejoy 63, Greenville Lions 13. For John, Mark Dempsey, and Matthew Middleton, I'm Bob Muty saying good night, everybody, and God bless you.
This video has been brought to you by GEUS 34. GEUS is your community-owned provider for electric, internet, cable TV, and true local programming.